Gals, and welcome. So we should have the dev live stream coming, well, within about like 35 minutes. I'm a little late. I know. Get off my back. I was having fun watching Resident Alien. Yes. So it should be starting pretty soon here. It's 2 p.m. EST is what it should be starting at. So we might even have a countdown already. Let's take a look. Let's see if they got a countdown running. About 33 minutes and 41 seconds. So we're getting there. I logged off last night on Asia so that I could get a quick Uber Diablo kill. So we're going to go kill Uber Diablo real quick. I might go spawn my my treachery first before I go down there. I have to burn in the fires of Gehenna until my treachery procs. If you guys are unaware, Diablo 2 Season 6 is in full swing, and we've been having a lot of fun with Diablo 2 Season 6. So we're having fun with that. I'm assuming the leaderboards will be coming soon, and maybe I'll revisit for that. There we go. Got my little treachery proc. You can see I'm half invisible now. Let's go kill Uber Diablo real quick, shall we?
Yes.
I gotta go get my Annie. Okay, I gotta get my Annie. This is important. This is important stuff. You guys don't know how important this is. This is important. With my two-handed vengeance paladin here. I don't know if I have a prevent monster heal source anymore. I do have open wounds now though, so that should be fine. All I gotta do is just make sure I keep hitting them. That'll be alright. What's up, Uber Boober? Uber Boober, what's up, Uber Boober? Uber Boober. Uber Diablo. Ow, that hurts a lot. This guy is not my fastest Uber Diablo killer ever, but he certainly can do it, which is interesting. Hey, it's an Annie. Let's go see what I got. My Annie's already pretty good. I've got a 1925, which is certainly not terrible. Obviously, the EXP could be better, but 1925 is kind of hard to beat. Let's see if we get something better. And the survey says a 16, 15, 10. Certainly not a terrible Annie. 16, 15, 10 is mid-roll on both of the stat and the resistances, with a perfect roll on the resistances. It's not too terrible. I think I'm still going to keep my 1925, unless I'm EXPing, I suppose. Used up all my potions. Dang it. Alright, we gotta swap off of Asia. We're stuck on Asia right now. Later today, we're gonna be doing New Character Day. In Diablo 2, by the way. So, we're gonna be having some fun with that. Diablo 2's New Character Days are usually pretty cool. If you've never participated in a New Character Day or watched one, basically what we do is we just deck out our characters with tons and tons of fat loots for low-level characters, and we walk the entire way. No rushing, no G-rushing, none of that bull crap. We just, we spend some time actually, you know, like playing the game and just farting and pooping and eating beef jerky. Wish I had some beef jerky. As you can see, I've got quite a few items stored up here for New Character Day. Pretty much everything you could ever want for New Character Day. Like tons of little little low-level items, Pluck Eye, Rezot's Keen, Saigon's Pieces, Fullerothas, Tierhaunch Greaves, Thesauruses, even Sparking Males and Ice Blinks and Night Smokes and so forth and so on. Plenty of Saigon's Sabbats to fulfill the needs of all the low-level characters running around trying to do what they need to do. And I'll be dropping all this on the ground before new character day starts, so we're gonna have some fun with that. I'll be having a blast today with our new character day. It'll start basically after the campfire's over. We're gonna start getting started with that. We got about 29 minutes till that starts, by the way. Speaking of their campfire chat, what are they going to be talking about today? Well, they're going to be talking about the gauntlet, the leaderboards, apparently upcoming balance updates. And apparently they're also going to be talking about the vampire powers making a return, which is probably going to come in the form of some sort of unique items or whatever. Same thing they did with the malignant powers, which is pretty cool. Bro, bro. What character am I going to be playing for New Character Day? I'm actually going to be playing a Necromancer. Um, Probably be fun to actually do this as a build real quick. Let's go play around with that. Let's go play with this real quick, shall we? While we're waiting on the campfire chat. So it's going to be a Necromancer. The general idea of what I'm trying to do is something absolutely silly, and it's basically the idea of making a fire necromancer. I know, fire necromancer. Doesn't exactly sound very powerful, but corpse explosion is half fire, so this is something that you got to take into account. So first off, I'm definitely going to be maxing corpse explosion. That's going to be a big one for the build. And the reason why I want that maxed is because it's going to be a pretty considerable part of my damage. I'm going to focus on negative fire res, fire sunder, and so forth and so on. So the fire portion of my corpse explosion is going to be pretty beastly. I'm also going to be maxing out the skeletons, which is because I'm going to be relying on them for fire damage, and you might be asking, well, how the hell am I going to get fire damage on my skeletons when they're physical damage? But basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using the Act 3 Fire Merc, who's going to enchant the skeletons, which is going to give them fire damage, which will translate out into more fire for me. I'm also going to be grabbing the Fire Golem down here, as well as revives. I'm probably going to be capping out the Fire Golem. Which is it's going to be a whole thing there too. And then I also need to grab lower resistance curse. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work out point wise. I already got what, 20, 40, 60, 80. That's 100. We need quests completed. That brings us up to 22. Lower res is all the way down here. I can't remember the exact diminishing return spot for lower res, but I actually am going to be relying on lower res a lot. So we might have to skimp a little bit on corpse explosion, which won't really make too big of a deal anyway, because it still has massive radius. It's still going to hit pretty much everything, especially once I get my plus the skills in. The fire golem itself is kind of pathetic. It always makes me sad. The damage of the outputs just isn't very good. I wish it was better. On top of this, he's not going to survive if I just put 20 points into him, so I'm going to have to put more points into Golem Mastery at the very least. Otherwise, he's just never going to survive ever. Mm. 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 Mm-hmm. You know how you can't put gear on here, can you? Basically, what I was thinking on doing is Bang Songs, which has negative 15% and fire resistance, and I was going to throw a perfect fire facet in there that's plus 5 skills and 20% negative fire res. Um, the fire merc is probably going to be running like Flickering Flame, Hexfire, Ethereal, Monarch, etc., etc. As many plus the skills as I can get him for enchant, if I can beef that up as high as possible. Because the enchant is going to be enchanting the skeletons are going to be dishing out fire damage, the fire golem's going to be dishing out fire damage, the corpse explosion is going to be dishing out fire damage, the low resistance is going to be for, obviously, for the fire damage, and then squeeze in as much negative res as I can, also utilizing the fire sunder. I'm not really going to go with the skeletons because the skeletons suck, and honestly, I'll get a decent number of skeletons anyway with just plus the skills, so it'll be interesting to see how this goes. And then, of course, the revives also will get access to the enchant, which should also beef up the damage further. I don't even know if this character is going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway. We shall see. I might have to split a little bit of the Fire Golem's points with Golem Mastery, depending on how weak he is. Hey, 23 minutes and 47 seconds. Look at that. What's my favorite character all time in D2R, playing endgame content regularly? I mean, honestly, they're all really fun. All of them are capable of endgame content. My Necromancer, Paladin, and Amazon, they've always been my favorites. I could never really choose between them. They're all really good. I forgot to put a poll up today. Let's put a poll up. I always giggle to myself when I make my polls. Is it wrong of me? Is it wrong of me to giggle? I bet you guys giggle when you see the options. Oh, I'm so stupid. I am so dumb. I gotta take my vitamins. I got some vitamins. These things taste disgusting. All right. So it's gonna be today, 11 a.m. PST, obviously in 21 minutes. Says we're gonna be joining Joseph Piaporo, lead class designer, Adam Jackson, as they delve into the gauntlet, leaderboards, balance updates, and bloodthirsty powers set to make their return. We'll also have a special event showcase of members of the development team playing the gauntlets. That's gonna be good. They always fail horribly with that kind of stuff. Why do they do that to themselves? It's like the dev team doesn't even know how to play their own game. So then when they play their own game on stream, a lot of people just like pick it apart like crazy. They're like, why are you using that skill? What the hell's wrong with you? They'll be joined by Diablo creators. These are Diablo partners. Basically, anyone who's associated with Maxroll. Macro Bio Boy, Anacake Live to commentate on the action. We'll also hold a QA segment at the end of the stream. Blurdy. Blah, blah, blah. That's right. See? Yes, no, maybe, and your mom is regular content. See? Good options. Good options. I think Volts should come and stay as regular content. I like the Volts. I think, personally, I think the Volts are better than Nightmare Dungeons, by far. Like, if I had to rate them, when I was playing Diablo 4 this season and Season 3, before I swapped over to Diablo 2 Season 6, the, I would never run Nightmare Dungeons anymore. Never. Like they weren't even within of the realm of my thinking anymore. And if anybody was running Nightmare Dungeons, I wasn't running Nightmare Dungeons with you. I just ran vaults, and that was all I ran all season was vaults. And in fact, I honestly can't even get behind some of these people who are saying like, "Oh, I hate vaults. Vaults are terrible. Vaults need to die in a fire." Like, I don't know who those people are. I think those people are aliens, so they don't belong on this planet. They're like the alien creatures that have the tentacles and like the four arms and they wave about like this to communicate or something. I don't know. Maybe that's why they don't like the vaults because they have four arms and they don't want to have to use all four arms for things. So they get lazy and they get confused or something. I don't know. I've been watching too much Resident Alien. Resident Alien is a really good show. I like that show. Oh man, he cracks me up so much. Also, I think that the Sensual should stay permanently. Also, like I think they hit on something with the Sensual, the little spider minion, the little spider merc, whatever you want to call it. I think the spider merc is a great addition to the game. I think honestly he should hang around and he should stay with us for future patches. He should just be added into the game. I mean, I don't at this point like I think a lot of people have realized just how powerful the spider can be. Maybe he does need a little bit of balancing, but having a mercenary again is so much fun. I mean, in Diablo 2, we pride ourselves on getting our mercenaries set up properly and made useful, and like gearing them out and making sure that they can handle the content that we're trying to approach. And it was so fun to finally have another mercenary like in Diablo 4, uh, as opposed to the nun that we had prior, the absolute nun. What's up, Samuel? Oh, they got some music. Look at that. I had it muted. Sorry. Would have been nice to have a little background music. The sun is always so blinding at this time of the day. Can't do anything about it either. If I spontaneously combust into flames, know that it's just because I'm a ginger and not because I'm an alien or something. Or maybe gingers are aliens, I don't know. My Lilith screen is better. My Lilith screen blinks. Their Lilith screen doesn't blink. I don't know if you guys have seen my Lilith screen. My Lilith screen blinks. Hold on. See, look at it. Watch. She blinks. Look. You gotta stare directly into her eyes. She blinks. See? Theirs doesn't blink. I don't see any blink. I'm staring directly into her eyes. I don't see no blinky. I'm not blinking. I not blink, because if I blink, I might miss the blink. She doesn't blink. See, mine blinks. My gift of song. Ho, 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 ho. After this, we're going to go right into some Diablo 2, by the way, so stay tuned if you're interested. Because we're going to be going right back into some Diablo 2. I got a new character day coming. We're going to have some fun with that. I don't know when these gauntlets and leaderboards start, but I'll probably hop back on for them, but they might not get my full attention. Diablo 4 might not get my full attention until Season 4. I'm having fun with Diablo 2 this season. Also, I wanted to hop back into Last Epoch, too, which I was really kind of just waiting for the servers to stabilize. Speaking of Last Epoch, I wonder how that's going. I haven't really checked on the server in a little while. Let me check on the. Let me see what their news Janks is going on. 224. We are deploying a back-end fix aimed at solving. Okay, that was 224. Let's go forward. 225. In 10 minutes, we'll be pushing back deployment. Targets transition times. 226. We're continue to work on issues where players are having difficulty joining popular towns. Midweek update. Okay, yesterday, aware of issues causing players to experiencing online play unavailable when attempting to load a character. Looks like it's still a little rough. I bet you it's better than it was at launch, though. Holy crap. For those of you who didn't join me for the Last Epoch on launch, Last Epoch on launch was a hamster lit on fire running in a hamster wheel. I don't know what the hell's going on with their servers. I tried for, well, how long did I stream for? It was a long time. Over 12 hours. Over 12 hours, yeah. There's my Last Epoch stream right there from 1.0. I tried in over 12 hours. I think it was like 13 hours of streaming because it cuts it off at 11:55. Over like 13 hours of streaming, I think I got maybe like 3 hours of actual game time in on launch day. It was really bad. I'm hoping to revisit it at some time later on when the servers are more stable and they get things figured out. Must stroke beard stroking for the strokiness. 12 minutes of beard stroking remains. Oh man, I'm curious how they're going to bring back the vampiric powers. It'll be interesting to see. My assumption is a unique item of some type, probably something that you could put on to bring the unique powers back. What did I dislike about LE? There's a couple things. First off, I don't like the fact that my loot disappears when I go back to town. Also, I don't like the fact that I get a new instance every single time I teleport back to town and go back to a new area. The extremely long loading times in between zones. Sometimes it would take upwards of like 2 or 3 minutes to load between a zone. And this was before 1.0, before launch. And after 1.0, it just got worse. Also, they took away my move and attack at the same time option. I did a Reddit post on it. I don't know if they fixed it yet. Apparently, there is a patch, so I guess I'm going to have to go back and take a look and see if they fixed that. Where's my post at? Did anybody ever reply to my post? I'm kind of curious. Boop. Yeah, here it is right here. So, when I logged in on day one, this was gone. This was gone. The move and attack, move and destroy items, and move, like it was just gone. I don't know how to get it back. Hopefully they fixed it in 1.1 because I had a really hard time playing the game without that. It's rough. I'm really hoping eventually they get that fixed before I come back. A lot of people have also commented about this from before, like back before it was broken, and then it got fixed, and then everybody was happy it got fixed, and now it's broken again. I don't understand why they broke it. Maybe they diverted to some older version of the game when they were updating to 1.0 when it was already broken, and then didn't bother fixing it again. I don't know. I was also kind of disenchanted with the unique items in Last Epoch. I don't know what the hell's going on with those unique items. Like, I feel like every single unique item in Last Epoch was woefully underwhelming. Some of them were so bad that I don't think I would ever put them on under any circumstance. There was a couple of them. I mean, I don't know if I can pull them up right now, but like I found quite a few unique items as I was playing through, and I remember looking at a large number of them, and I was just like, yeah, I'm never using this. Yeah, I'm never using this. I had a couple incidents with the Forge that were just absolutely silly. Like, what was that one thing that happened? So I put a staff up on there, and I removed an affix from the staff, and it immediately bricked the item. Which just struck me as like one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And I can't really explain it in a way that makes a lot of sense, but I think I came up with a good analogy at the time. But essentially what's going on here is that the game essentially allowed you to ruin an item with no way to make it better. So it consumed the entire forging potential of the item, removing an affix, making the item worse than it was before, and then preventing you from adding anything back in its place. So the entire action of removing the affix did nothing but make the item worse, yet you were punished for it, which was really freaking weird to me. I think they need need to put some work into the forging system. I don't know if you guys saw us find that 2020 Sork torch, though. We found a 2020 Sork torch on our Uber runs. That thing is worth like 300 bucks. Not that we're going to sell it, but it's worth like 300 bucks. Are they going to play the same boring Season 3 trailer again?
Season of the Construct has so much going on.
New quest lines, new legendary items, new unique items, new mechanics, challenges, and more. In the Season of the Construct, you learn of a wondrous place beneath the sands of Kyrgyzstan, filled with untold treasure. Nearly all who seek this treasure never return. Those that do return are haunted, or worse yet, possessed. You seek out this place to put an end to whatever's lurking there.
Following a lead, you discover a sprawling network of underground vaults. It houses the Loom, a priceless apparatus built long ago by the brilliant mages Zoltan Kuhl and Ayuzhan of Chaldeum to shape the elements and build tools to serve humanity.
While exploring the network, you rescue Ayuzhan, only to discover that the demon Malphus has taken over the Loom to create its own private hell.
Malphus is a servant of Diablo. He is unlike other demons we've encountered in Diablo 4. He's shapeless, manipulates others, takes on forms other than his own.
He has possessed one of Zoltan Kuhl's prized constructs.
And you must work with Ayuzhan to explore the vaults, gain access to the Loom, and defeat Malphus.
This season introduces constructs. These elementally powered monsters were originally created by Ayuzhan and Zoltan to protect and maintain the Loom. Unfortunately, Malphus has taken control of them and twisted them to his liking. They're powered by various different elements, giving them different abilities and strengths and weaknesses. You'll also find them, of course, in the vaults themselves, protecting the many treasures within. As players engage with the storyline of the Season of the Construct, they're going to come across a broken version of the Seneschal during the questline. The Seneschal is a special construct that was built to command the other constructs based on Ayajan's and Zoltan's direction. Ayajan of Chaldean repairs the Seneschal to follow your orders.
The Seneschal construct is your companion. It's a rebuilt construct that will accompany you throughout the season. Your construct's power will grow along with you. The Seneschal construct has many different abilities that can complement the player's build. It can deal damage, crowd control monsters, or even support you directly by healing you or providing you a damage bonus. Magical stones are the key to customizing and empowering your construct. They are primarily found in vaults. You get governing stones from the season's questline, and you get tuning stones from playing through the seasonal content. A governing stone is a core construct ability, while a tuning stone is a singular modification for any number of governing stones.
As players are progressing through the Season of the Construct and they're leveling up their Seneschal, adding new abilities and improving them, they're going to find abilities that are going to deal damage to packs of monsters, to single monsters, and also abilities that are just focused on buffing the power of the player themselves, so that players have different options as they're progressing through the season.
One cool ability is Auto Defense. Auto Defense summons a magical barrier around your construct that shoots down enemy projectiles. Another cool ability that your construct has is Focus Fire. It is a channeled ray of fire that can chain to multiple enemies. Use combinations of tuning stones to transform a seemingly simple skill into something truly crazy.
Vaults are seasonal dungeons that are filled with a high concentration of deadly traps, where you can farm for the magic stones for your Seneschal constructs. You can find the entrances in different zones of Sanctuary. When the player enters a vault, they are met in a familiar area of Sanctuary. Then, the player teleports to the vault proper, encountering great challenges. Vaults not only have our new construct family in them, but also new traps built for this season.
Players are going to discover many new hazards inside these vault spaces. Whether it is spinning pillars shooting out flames or other traps. Players need to stay on their toes while they're progressing through these vaults in order to stay alive.
Each vault culminates in a gauntlet of true skill. Players must avoid traps while fighting waves of enemies and a powerful elite. If you survive that, the traps will turn off and the treasure room is revealed. If you get hit by a trap, you lose 1 stack of Zoltan's Warding. Zoltan's Warding is a special buff players can get by interacting with the statue of Zoltan Cool when they enter a vault, if they have a Pearl of Warding. Ward-woven chests are special chests players can interact with at the end of a vault if they have enough stacks of Zoltan's Warding left over. If a player has more than 1 stack, they can open a rare ward-woven chest. Those have even better rewards. This season introduces our first stationary boss in Diablo 4.
This is going to be a fight against this massive protective golem meant to watch over the vaults. The Malphus, once again, has managed to corrupt and control.
Because it's stationary, it gives us the opportunity to include some of the season's new traps into the arena. This presents a lot of unique and new mechanics for the players to navigate and fight.
The player is going to need to bring all of their skills and abilities to bear as they try to destroy and fight off these Malphus-controlled constructs. They're also going to make good use of their own Seneschal, make sure they remain upgraded in the fights to come. The Gauntlet is a new fixed-seed non-linear dungeon where players have a fixed amount of time to achieve high scores by proving their might. Any player who unlocks World Tier 4, Torment Mode, can compete in the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet starts several weeks into the Season of the Construct. At the beginning of each week, a new Gauntlet replaces the current one. Unlike other dungeons, every time you and other players enter the Gauntlet that week, it will be exactly the same. Same monster positions, same affixes, everything. This makes it a fair competition. Additionally, monsters within the Gauntlet start at level 100. This is meant to test your fully leveled up and geared up build. It's highly replayable, enabling a broad set of player choices. Players can try different classes and strategies for achieving high scores. Leaderboards are a place for top players to compete with one another in the Gauntlet. These reset each week when a new Gauntlet appears. There are solo leaderboards for each class, as well as party leaderboards that vary with party size. And of course, there are a set of leaderboards just for hardcore players too. But some players may not be ready for that type of play, so we've created goals for them as well. Each leaderboard has a ladder that you climb to reach it. Each rung of the ladder awards a seal that you can show off. And when you earn the seal of the worthy, you'll be ready for leaderboard competition. Can't wait to see you in Sanctuary.
Hello, Diablo community. Welcome to another Diablo 4 Campfire Chat. My name is Adam Fletcher. I'm the community director here for Diablo, and I'm joined by two very, very familiar faces. Regular appearing people on Campfire Chats. I have Mr. Adam Jackson here, who's our lead class designer, and Mr. Joey P, Joe Pipora, our associate game director. He doesn't like it when I say Joey P.
I don't hate it. It's just it feels like a running gag that like very few people have.
Well, Tiffany Watt, our production director,
Yeah,
very big fans of Joey P.
Joey P on deck. Yeah, what's up?
We have a big Campfire Chat to talk about today. We have a lot of updates to talk about for Diablo 4. Of course, we have our mid-season update, which is coming up really soon. In fact, it's coming next week. So players will be able to experience the mid-season update. And along with that, a very big feature that everyone's been talking about and anticipating. I know it's been a long anticipated feature within Diablo 4, and that is the Gauntlet. So we'll be talking about the Gauntlet as well and actually showcasing it here because that does come with the mid-season update next week as well. So players will be able to jump into the Gauntlet and try it out themselves starting next Tuesday. But I know a lot of stuff has happened over Diablo 4 since the start of Season 3. Just recently, we released the 132 patch, which was the one that included a way for players who actually have a bunch of Uber Uniques and want to craft Uber Uniques. They can do that by creating resplendent sparks and then being able to craft the Uber Uniques that they specifically want if they happen to find other ones and stuff. And so, but we do have a lot of new features coming into the actual mid-season update with 133. One really popular one coming back from Season 2. I know you guys want to talk about it a little bit more right now.
Yes, we have vampiric powers returning from Season 2. Yeah. So we really like being able to bring back some of the malignant powers from Season 1 in the form of the unique rings we have dropping from Barshan in Season 2. Now, as we're looking towards Season 3 and in the mid-season patch, we're able to bring back some of the vampiric powers that players really seemed to like. We thought were pretty cool. We'll bring them back in a slightly different form. I think Adam's going to talk about in a minute.
Yeah, we'll be going over all of them and which ones we brought back and what they do. You'll be able to see all of it in a little bit here.
Yeah, so I think we have a kind of a slide to start talking about our vampiric powers.
Yeah, so really we've got 6 vampiric powers that are really returning from the Season of Blood. They're coming back this time as legendary powers instead of uniques. So unlike the unique rings, these are going to be legendary powers, just like any other legendary power that comes in the game. And they're not all exact one-to-one copies. They're really close to matching their previous functionality and kind of what you would expect them to do. But we brought them back in a way that's kind of evergreen, that they can be sustainable.
Yeah, they can fit in that mix and match format of the aspect system, right? So
yeah. So the ones we got here that are returning, you've got Accursed Touch, Blood Boil, Hectic, Metamorphosis, a fan favorite, Moonrise, and the Undying. You can see a few of them here being played out.
Just in case if you forgot from Season 2.
Yeah.
Here's some of the fan favorite ones. Of course, everyone loves Metamorphosis, a huge big one.
Yep.
Being able to turn into bats, essentially invade through enemies. But as you mentioned, they're coming back as these legendary aspects, legendary powers.
Yeah, so here we're going to show you the exact text, so you can screen cap that, figure out all the exact differences between these and what's in Season 2. Largely the same, a few differences. The biggest one I think you'll see in the next screen is Metamorphosis. Obviously it's really strong, so now it's coming back, but it's going to increase the cooldown of your evade.
Yeah, it's kind of like that legendary aspect we put in Season 3 that increases your armor, but also increases the duration of your evade timer.
Yes, very similar. So, you got a little bit of a kiss curse there.
Yeah, that light effect, that choice for players to choose. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, next going into what our updates are, we've got kind of our generic updates here. So the first one a lot of people have been talking about is snapshotting. We've heard a lot of cases from people they brought up where snapshotting is a thing that's been reported to us. And to give a little bit of a kind of a high-level view of what snapshotting is, because not everybody is very familiar. Snapshotting is this idea that when you get a buff, let's say a damage buff, you're able to hold on to that buff for a longer duration than it would normally last if you use it on a skill that is like channeled or lasts a really long time. So a simple example, this would be like the Barbarian's Whirlwind. If let's say I got a 50% damage buff and it lasts for 4 seconds, if I have that buff on me the moment I channel Whirlwind, it'll keep that buff going until I cancel Whirlwind because I had it when it started. And so if I keep my Whirlwind going forever, I'll keep that 50% damage buff way beyond the normal 4-second time. If the game didn't have snapshotting, then it would just last for 4 seconds, whether or not I started Whirlwind when I had it, and that would be how long I would be doing the bonus damage. So in general, when it comes to snapshotting, we want to really remove it from the game as much as we can. It does allow for some kind of cool things, but generally snapshotting is used to do really kind of undesirable behavior, whether it's unequipping and re-equipping gear at certain times or using certain effects at certain times to get way more power than a player should normally be able to be. And it results in the things like people gathering up a ton of buffs and then like one-shotting a boss or things like that in unintuitive ways. So we've fixed every case that's been reported to us so far and we'll continue to, and we're going to move toward more of a systemic approach to taking it out. Also for the gauntlet, because we know that a few people were concerned about the gauntlet and how snapshotting would be able to work there. In the gauntlet, your gear, the skill tree, and the Paragon board cannot be changed. So you can't do any weird things of unequipping, re-equipping legendaries or things like that to try and gain an advantage. What you bring into the gauntlet is basically going to be locked. So it'll be a fair place for people to compete. And lastly, more generic thing, but the Rogue, we found an issue where the Weapon Mastery passive was double dipping on critical strike damage bonuses, particularly when you mixed Weapon Mastery and the Precision Key passive. Players were able to do way more damage than was intended. So that is another bug fix that is coming in this patch. All right, so next let's get into our first round of the class updates. First, we're going to start with the Seneschal construct.
Yeah, the Seneschal class.
Yeah, the Seneschal class.
Yeah.
So really, we've resolved quite a few different bugs and also reduced the power of some things that were overperforming. The first one is that when you used basically AoE buffs like the Barbarian Warcry or the Druid's Bloodhowl, the Seneschal would be double dipping in the amount of bonus that it would get in its damage bonus, so we fixed a bug there. And next we did quite a bit of updates to some of the tuning stones. The Poison Support tuning stone isn't going to be reapplying the base damage when it spreads. It's going to match more the functionality of other kind of damage over time tuning stones. The Bleeding and Burning Support tuning stones were a little bit overpowered, so we're reducing the power of those a little bit as well. And then lastly, the Tempest Governing Stone was basically resulting in a situation where you could get unlimited damage bonuses by it constantly bouncing and getting more and more and more. And so now it's no longer going to get bonus damage and duration when it spreads. It's just going to spread and do that base amount of damage. All right, so next, let's get into the class updates. So we're going to start with the Barbarian. And again, we've got stuff for every single class. Right now, I'm sure...
First bullet, very powerful.
Very powerful.
Yeah, Barbarian's pretty good right now.
As many of you, I'm sure, know, the Barbarian's pretty good right now. A lot of people really like Charge, it turns out. It's a really strong skill.
It's a fun skill.
Probably the biggest update you're going to see here, the next bullet point, is that we're not really planning to nerf Charge in this patch. Before, we had talked about kind of our bar for what we would consider to be too strong in the game where we would nerf in a mid-season patch. Charge is like right up there. And we talked a lot as a design team and made a call that we were going to keep it for the rest of the season. So, we know it's really, really good. It's really, really strong. A lot of people are having a lot of fun with it. We could have gone either way on this, so we're open to feedback of what the community thinks. But now with the launch of the Gauntlet, we're going to keep it in and kind of see how it rides out. We've been seeing over time that other classes have found things that are also really, really powerful too. So we're gonna try that this season and see how it goes. But in addition to that, we've got some changes coming for Barbarian. We still get feedback that a lot of their early game is kind of tough. So we're going to be buffing up a lot of their basic skills to make the early game go a little bit smoother. And then we're also doing some buffs to some underused skills and upgrades. There's some examples here. We've got Strategic Ground Stomp. The ultimate cooldown reduction is being doubled from 1 to 2 seconds. One of the Iron Skin upgrades and the upgrade for Call of the Ancients is just getting a number increase. And Gore's Devastating Grip. So this is kind of a storied history in our game. Yeah, it was really, really good when the game launched. And now we brought it down quite a bit, and now we're increasing its power a little bit again to bring back Whirlwind builds. So the ranks of Whirlwind are going up from 1 to 2 to 2 to 3, and we're increasing the amount of the explosion damage a little bit there as well. So really, when it comes to what you look forward to the Barbarian, it's really everything, because we're not nerfing Charge, but also their early game and Whirlwind builds will be a little bit better as well. And again, when we're going through all these updates for the classes, this isn't everything that is going in that we're showing you. You'll be able to see the patch notes very soon, but this is just a sneak peek of some of the things that are happening. So there is a little bit more for everything, I think, than what we're showing today. So next we got the Sorceress. So Incinerate is a skill that we know people have had kind of a hard time really getting a lot of effectiveness out of. So we're increasing basically everything across the board. The damage is going up. All of its upgrades are going up. So Incinerate players should be rejoicing. We've also got quite a few buffs to Conjuration skills coming in. So for people that like using Conjurations. And then also some buffs to really generically used, underused passives and Paragon Glyphs. So really across the board, you're just going to see some buffs to various things. So here again, for Sorc players, Incinerate and really Conjurations are the things that you have to look forward to. And next we've got the Druid, who's got quite a few powerful things coming. So similar to the Barbarian, the Druids, we've gotten feedback that they kind of, they have a really, really strong late game, but their early game getting there can be a little bit tedious to go. So we're buffing a lot of their basic skills. We gave an example here for the Druid with Wind Shear. So you can see here the Spirit generation is going up, the damage is being increased, and the Wild Wind Shear upgrade, which gives you more Spirit when you hit enemies, is also going up. So really just better resource management in the early game. And then Companion Druid. So we could pretty consistently hear for players that they really want to make a companion build really work and feel good. So we've got some damage buffs across the board for all of the companions, particularly Wolves is getting quite a bit stronger. But we've got things for Wolves, Poison Creeper, and Ravens. And then we've got some additional buffs to some underused passives. And then last but not least, the Storm's Companion unique. So this is the one that makes your Wolves howl when they do some lightning damage in an AoE. The ranks of Wolves that you're getting is going to be increased from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. And then also the Storm Howl damage, that damage that happens when the lightning bolts come down, is being increased by a lot. And so you could see here...
Enhance. Yeah.
Yeah, so before I was doing in this example at this level 100 to maybe 400 damage, 150 to 400. And now it's going to be doing closer to 8 to 1300 damage per strike. And these things strike multiple times too, and in an AoE, so it's actually quite a bit of an increase. So really, as far as Druids, your early game will feel better for pretty much every build, and then Companions, and especially Wolves, are going to be quite a bit more powerful. Next, we've got the Rogue. So we've got Heartseeker and Force Foyer, their attack speeds are being increased. So, when it comes to basic skills, a lot of people gravitate to Puncture. It's really, really strong, it applies vulnerable, but also you're able to stutter step, and it feels really good when you cast it.
And you're just throwing knives.
Yes, and knife throwing is cool.
Rad.
I can't give everyone knives on every skill, but I also think arrows are kind of cool.
I just think there's areas for improvement. So knives and everything.
Maybe knives on the arrows? I don't know. But anyways, as far as how it feels to use, the two arrow skills should feel exactly the same as Puncture. As far as how you're able to stutter step, how quickly you're able to cast them, they've been made to match. And then we also heard some feedback that Flurry isn't really feeling as good compared to the other core skills, so we're increasing its damage. And then we're also improving the functionality of both of its upgrades. They're just going to be a little bit more usable. And then Precision, everybody's favorite new change in Season 3. We're actually going to be reducing the stacks required for bonuses from 6 to 4. So this is a buff to Precision. It's really meant to help with actually the rhythm and the way that you feel when you cast it. That how often you get the proc should just feel a little bit better to use when you're using it in combination with other skills. And then last but not least, we got the aspect of branching volleys. We're kind of redesigning or upgrading this legendary quite a bit. This is with Barrage. When your Barrage arrows bounce, they do more damage, but now we're actually adding a little bit more to it.
Yeah, it sucked.
So you can see here on the left is kind of the old version, which basically said that your arrows had a chance to split into 2 arrows whenever they ricochet. And, I love that zoom in.
Oh, yeah.
So now on the right, firstly, it's going to increase just the base damage of ricocheting arrows from Barrage. And then also they still keep that chance to split into 2, but that chance has also been increased by quite a bit.
Yeah.
So really this legendary just wasn't very powerful or being used very much, and now it should be quite a bit better.
Yeah, it looks better.
So yeah, as far as things to look forward to, really range builds I think are going to feel pretty good, and then Flurry as well is getting quite a big increase. And last but not least, we have the Necromancer, and we have a lot to cover here with Necromancer, so hold on to your butts here. So first we got minion buffs.
One block, just minion buffs.
Giant block of text here. So really their damage is being increased by about 20% just across all minions. Their health is going up by about 10%. A lot of their passives here you can see are being increased. We've got Hellbent Commander, Cult Leader. Corporeal is a pretty big one, I think, that you'll be able to look forward to. So before it was that you and your minions just deal increased physical damage. Now it's also going to be giving you increased move speed for every active minion.
Yes.
So,
Necromancers rejoice.
Minion builds will be catching up with their army and vice versa as they go through the game. We also fixed an issue with Skeletal Reapers where they were spawning too few corpses, so now they're going to be giving a lot more corpses when you take that upgrade. And also just talking about minions a little bit. Minions is one of our big priorities to kind of feel really good. We think that the issue with minions is not just that they're not dealing enough damage, but also we want to increase kind of the cool factor in the way that you engage with them, particularly the golem. So we do have quite a bit more coming in Season 4 that I wanted to let everybody know about. But this is kind of a little bit of a taste of what we plan to do with minions.
The initial volley of changes.
The initial volley of changes, yes. Yeah. We have a lot coming in Season 4 in addition to this.
That's quite a lot of buffs to the minions.
And then next, we've got also buffs and functionality adjustments to a bunch of other things. One example here with a passive is spiked armor. It kind of makes sense that it would give you armor. So now it's also going to give you armor in addition to thorns. Death's Reach is a passive that we're redesigning completely. It used to be that you dealt more damage to enemies that are far away. Now we're changing it to be Death's Advance, which really just gives you move speed. So now, generically, Necromancer players will have a way to just put 3 points in a passive and gain additional move speed more than other classes.
That'd be great, yeah.
And then we've also got some core skill buffs, particularly to Blight, Blood Surge, and Sever. There's some number buffs, and I think even some functionality and other tweaks to make the bulk of them feel a lot better. So really, when it comes to Necromancer players, movement speed is the name of the game here, and also minion builds should feel quite a bit better than before.
So they're reversing the decision to make Necromancer
And lastly,
slow.
we wanted to talk with you all a little bit about how we do our updates and the timing of them. We've run into a issue, not really an issue, but a situation that happens pretty commonly. So normally when we think about updates, in our last live stream, we talked about how, we kind of made a promise with you that at the start of every season, every class was going to get at least one new legendary and one new unique. And what happens sometimes is we'll have a new legendary or a new unique in the pipe, and we have a cool idea, we've made a new design for something, like I'll give an example, let's say Fireball Sorcerer, right? We have a really cool new legendary for Fireball Sorcerer that we've put in, we've play tested it, it's ready to go, but we don't have a new legendary for every other class to go with it, right? And we kind of run into this situation where we have to decide, is it okay to put something into the game when one class will get more than other classes, right? We tend to try and keep things mostly equal when it comes to these updates. And so we kind of wanted to hear your feedback a little bit of would you be okay and would it be cool with the community if when we have more than the equal amount of other classes of updates to do, that we just put them in when they're ready, or should we wait until everybody kind of has parity on things? The other situation where this comes up quite a bit is where we know that a build really needs some help. I'll use Frozen Orb as an example, right? Where Frozen Orb, we want to make a new playstyle for Frozen Orb, and we want to add 2 legendaries and a unique to really make this thing sing, right? Just adding one power isn't enough to make this whole playstyle work. And so would it be okay if, you see in the patch notes in the season that Sorcerer gets, 2 uniques and 4 legendaries and everybody else just gets 1, but we've enabled this really cool thing? Or do you think it's smarter for us to just kind of wait until every class can get a cool new thing of that equivalent amount of stuff coming into the game? So, we're open to feedback here. We're going to be looking at, Reddit and forums and other places, kind of what you think. But we're kind of leaning towards just putting things in when they're ready. But we wanted to turn this into a conversation and let you, the community, kind of have your voice as well.
Yeah.
How you want us to put these things in.
Get some feedback. We're interested in this.
Yeah. So post live stream, or I know we know that the conversations will come up regarding this specific topic, and so we'll be looking around and kind of gathering community feedback on what you guys prefer, and kind of going with that, and listening in on what you guys actually want us to do. So please chime into different conversations that you guys see related to that topic, because we'll most definitely be checking it out and paying attention. So. And this is just a small, as Adam mentioned, this is just a small piece of what we're actually including in the mid-season update. The full patch notes are actually going to be out tomorrow. So we'll end up posting all those before the weekend, and players can check out the full entire patch notes. And of course, this mid-season update includes all the vampiric powers. It also includes Gauntlet, which we're about to showcase here. So it's a pretty beefy mid-season update. And just to remind people as well, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, there's a lot of changes in this mid-season update. What we talked about at the beginning of Season 3 is the cadence of how we plan on doing these updates.
Yeah.
You know, we plan on doing pretty significant changes, of course, at the start of a season because it's a brand new season, so it makes sense there. And then, you know, we take the time to evaluate, and then we make pretty significant changes in mid-season updates as well, based off of feedback that we saw since the start of the season. And of course, you know, once we get into a new season, things change again, and you know, meta changes and class balance changes occur then. So players can expect to see that there. There is the rare occurrence, as like for instance, that you know we'll be monitoring feedback if something does come up that is like absolutely like breaking or whatever, that we may end up making a tweak on based off of community feedback. But that is typically the cadence that we had talked about at the beginning of the season, and we just want to remind players like you can always expect these big moments during the beginning and the middle part of the season for itself.
Correct. Yeah.
Awesome. So the next thing we did want to talk about is the Gauntlet. You know, this is a long anticipated feature. It is the leaderboard feature essentially within Diablo 4. And we actually have a cool like showcase that we want to show you guys here. We have 3 different devs that are.
We're going to show you a showcase.
We're going to show you a showcase.
Just this once.
Showcase. But we have 3 different devs that are going to be joining us, and they're going to be running through their build specifically through the Gauntlet itself. And we are joined by 2 Diablo partners, 2 Diablo content creators who are going to be commentating through this. This is Anna Live and MacroBioBoy. Thank you guys very much for helping us out here. And our 3 devs are going to be, of course, from like here within Irvine, so they'll be playing live here within the studio.
Irvine, California.
Irvine, California.
Yep.
And so we actually have John Constable, who is on the engineering team here for Diablo 4. We have Liam Kerr, who's a associate class designer on the design team here for Diablo 4. And we have Steven Stewart, who some people may recognize as Leviathan, a former Diablo content creator, or maybe still a Diablo content creator. He's like behind the camera, I don't know, who will also be running through his build through the Gauntlet, so you guys can actually check it out. But what we do want to do is we do want to hand it off to Anna Live and MacroBioBoy, who will be running us through some of this Gauntlet stuff, and then we'll come back and we'll give you guys a few little updates about Season 4 and do some Q&A. So, Macro, Anna, take it away.
Thank you so much, Adam. Hi, everyone. I am Anna Live, and I'm incredibly happy to be here today. And together with my friend Macro, I'm happy to first time see and comment on showcase of the Gauntlet.
Hi, everybody. I'm MacroBioBoy. I'm your friendly neighborhood necromancer. Yeah, Anna, this is wildly exciting. It's so great that the players finally get to get their eyes on what we're going to be expecting coming out next week. We have the Gauntlet Showcase, 3 amazing developers. These people, they're going to show you all the stops, and we're going to be able to help to kind of bridge the gap, bring you some of that information about the mechanics that are going on, what you're actually seeing, and what you can expect as well. So it looks like, first off, and I'm already incredibly excited for this because you know I'm a Necro boy here, we're going to be showcasing Liam Kerr on the Bone Spear Necromancer. This is like the build I'm the most excited for, and it looks like we're actually all set to hop right in. So let's go ahead and give him a second to hop into the gameplay here.
Here we go. And guys, we just started the Gauntlet. The first thing that we see the boss, and we just skipped the boss. The Necromancer is just running, skipping the boss, proceeding into the dungeon, and apparently trying to get, I already see, here is the first shrine. Macro, tell me something about this shrine and about this necromancer. I know that you definitely want to share with us everything that we need to know about this necro.
Absolutely. So before I get like too deep into the Necromancer, let's basically just talk about what you're looking at in the Gauntlet. We have 8 minutes to get the highest score possible. Every monster that you kill, every boss that you kill, as well as some chests that we're going to see later on, are going to be dropping proofs of might. This is basically what you're getting, that teal score there on the right side. And it's speed, utility, and strategy is what we care about the most here. Monsters are going to be level 124, so this is similar to a Nightmare Dungeon 70 in difficulty. That means that you don't have to worry as much about survivability or crazy damage numbers. You need to be doing just enough to be able to kill things as you run and gun. Specifically to your question about the pillars that we're seeing here, these unique shrines in the Gauntlet itself, we have 2 new additions to the game. One is going to be a shrine that's going to respawn all of the monsters in the dungeon. That's right, it's not just about getting through the dungeon as fast as possible, it's about getting through it multiple times over. Secondly, we have another shrine which is actually going to increase how much score you get whenever you complete any of those objectives that I just saw. And then right there, we actually have the return of normal shrines as well. These are going to be dropping off the bosses. Anna, what can you tell us more about these shrines and what people need to worry about strategizing with them?
Oh yeah, that's the whole this gauntlet. It's all about the strategy. The shrines gonna be always the same. They're gonna appear in the same places, and the shrines that gonna be dropping from the bosses that also will be the same. Then you need to plan your trip through the gauntlet. Are you gonna kill the boss? Are you planning to use those shrines? When are you planning to use those shrines? Once again, the shrines, the special shrines from this gauntlet, they will be either resetting all the monsters in the dungeon, and here we see our necromancer just killed the boss first time, resetted this boss, and he's going back and killing him again and getting a lot of proofs of might, increasing his score. By the way, necromancer current score is already 58k. We are going not bad. We are progressing further in the dungeon. The map will always stay the same in this dungeon. It will stay the same for a week, so you can plan your path. You can always choose your way how you will be progressing in this dungeon. And here we see the second shrine, the second pylon our necromancer touched.
So to talk a little bit more about the Bone Spear Necromancer, because I could go on and on and on about this build, I think this is basically going to be everybody's first attempt at what the best meta approach to this content is. Bone Spear has a lot of great mobility as well as ability to spread damage across the battlefield. So whether you're running past monsters and gunning back behind you, kind of training monsters along, players of Diablo 3 would have seen similar strategies in Greater Rifts, kind of bringing all of your monsters together before you waste any time actually killing them. But whether or not you're just like front loading all of your damage and blasting through bosses so that you have that shrine moving forward. Like here we have the Blast Wave Shrine, right? This basically means that the Necromancer will be able to kill as they run, not worrying about having to spend any animation time actually casting their spells themselves. And I think that this is something that people are going to want to really tune into. Not only is the gauntlet the same every single week, so literally every monster is going to be in the exact same place. Every time that you kill a monster that drops one of the keys, those are going to be in the exact same place too. So like I said before, it's not just about doing a lot of damage, being very fast. It's about picking every single time you spend any time at all, casting a skill, doing damage, or moving. And I definitely think that Bone Spear Necromancer is uniquely positioned in this way to be able to keep that constant momentum in damage output.
Your Necromancer is doing absolutely stunning, really good. Current score we have 141k. We are going absolutely not bad. And guys, you can see in the corner there are the keys. We don't have yet any keys, but hopefully we're gonna get them soon. You probably also saw that in this dungeon there are special chests. White chests, and a little bit later I think we're gonna see also yellow chests. The chests, obviously, they have a lot of proof of mights. They're helping you to increase your total score. To get the keys, you need to kill some special monsters. The monsters are staying the same, but when you're entering the dungeon, you don't know which monster it is. You will also have to first run a couple of times through the dungeons, kill all the monsters, find out who is actually dropping the key, and probably focus on those monsters. Also, keep in mind that you need probably kill them, couple of them, to be able to open the chests. By the way, we went right back to the beginning of the dungeon, and probably our Necromancer now decided to finish our first boss, our Tom Lord, that is waiting here. We have 2 minutes, 30 seconds left. 30 seconds left.
It's really important to recognize that too. So the Tomb Lord is a boss that is notorious for moving. And if you're a boss that moves, you're basically the antithesis of a Bone Spear Necro. It wants to keep you in a very specific place. So maybe it's not kill every single pack of monsters. Maybe it's not whittle down every single boss as you go. Since you know where the ones that are going to be the easiest for you to take out, you can make that part of your overall strategy. And running through these sections again and again, getting as much score as possible. Probably the best part about all of this, and it's something that you might not have picked up on immediately, you notice that every single time you kill a monster, like we just saw there, the score automatically flies into you. So this isn't like running a normal dungeon where you have to go back and pick up those 2 veiled crystals that you happen to notice drop. Your only concern is running through this at breakneck speed, killing demons as you go. And the automatic pickup of score, the ability to know exactly where everything is, having that map fully explored, and then eventually memorizing it as the week goes on, means that players are going to continue to get higher and higher scores as we optimize our builds and as we bring better strategies and better timing, better routes through this. It really calls back to my speedrunning history in Diablo 2 and a little bit in Diablo 4, where every one of these little decisions that you're making could be the difference between ranking top 1 on the leaderboards or just barely cracking through to that top 1,000. But we're honestly seeing a really great showing from the Necromancer here. We have 1 minute left. We've just about cracked 200,000 score. This is actually pretty impressive for this build. I think that Liam's doing a fantastic job showcasing what I think most Necro players' first experience is going to be walking into this content.
Oh, I can hear that you're proud for your Necromancer. And guys, we just entered the room. Guys, you saw that there were a lot of chests, but still don't have the keys. A Necromancer needs to go through the dungeon, search for the keys, probably search for the shrines, probably reset. The winning strategy here would be resetting the monsters once again, and probably you cannot open the chest, but you will be able to kill a lot of monsters and also increase the total amount, your current score. We are almost reaching 200k, really close, and we have 10 seconds left. Looks good.
Oh,
Looks really, really good for our Necromancer.
Come on,
See you
Necro,
guys,
get over
bye.
200k. Oh, and this is one of the issues that you run into. You know, if you've already cleared out that part of the dungeon, going back through it and kill, you know, there's no more monsters for you to kill. But a great showing from the Necromancer. And can you tell me a little bit more about the screen that we're looking at right here?
We are looking on our total results screen. You can see here your total score. You can see here the amount of monsters that you killed, all the elite monsters that you killed, and all the bosses that you defeated, all the information. And you also can see the information about what you reached, which seal you reached. And our Necromancer, yep, Macro was absolutely right here. Our Necromancer was showing insanely good gameplay, seal of the worthy. This is the highest seal that you can reach as a player. Tell us more about the seals, what you can say. I know that there are 4 of them. How are they going to work?
So you start all the way down from Seal of the Blooded and then all the way up to Seal of the Worthy. What this basically means is that just running through the gauntlet at all is going to get you that first seal, but you're going to have to crack through higher and higher amounts of total score to rank up to the highest seal. The reason why you want to do that, it's not just bragging rights, as much as the majority of this truly is, but at the end of the week, not only are you going to get a cash just for running the gauntlet every time, you know, a small amount of items just to say like, hey, good job, you spent your time. But on top of that, if you actually reach the end of the week and you've reached the Seal of the Worthy, you're going to get all of the caches for the 4 seals below that. You're going to get automatic 925 item power that can be ancestral legendaries. It can even increase all the way up to a unique. So it's a much better incentive for people who don't just care about the ego part of it. You know, they're like, hey, I participate. I want to get something out of it. You do too. And being able to get that loot at the end of the week is that nice little cherry on top.
Yeah, and I think that we are ready for our second player. We're going to be joined really, really soon by the Ball Lightning Sorceress, guys. John Constable, Senior Gameplay Engineer, going to be showing us the Sorceress gameplay, the Sorceress Gauntlet. Let's go. I hope. Here we are. We are starting, guys. We are entering once again our gauntlet. Once again, guys, the same map, the same big boss is waiting for you right in the end. Also, our sorceress choosing the same gameplay, the same decision was made, skipping the first boss, moving further into the dungeon, trying to get the second boss, probably some pillars. That's an interesting strategy here. And guys, this is a Ball Lightning Sorceress. This is community beloved build that in Season 2, I don't know, absolutely everyone was playing Ball Lightning Sorceress. But I don't know. Probably now everyone will be playing Incinerate Sorceress because Incinerate was buff. But yeah, here we have Ball Lightning, and Ball Lightning using Tal Rush's Ring to buff your Ball Lightning damage with the power of the multiple elements. Yeah. Yep, here we go. One more boss is here.
The best part about, I mean, there's going to be strengths and weaknesses to every build, right? You're probably going to end up seeing a meta where there are builds that only care about clearing out the trash, that are primarily focused on getting those bosses dead and getting those shrines, because the shrines are going to give you power, obviously. They're also going to give you movement speed. I wouldn't be surprised if sneaking in some shrine duration buff onto either your amulet or your boots ends up being really powerful in the gauntlet here. That's a quick little pro tip from your boy. But there's not necessarily one right way to do this. On top of that, every class, every ladder that you're in is actually judged individually. So the necromancers are going to be judged against other necromancers, sorceresses against other sorceresses, so on and so forth. So where some builds may not have the mobility, but they have the boss kill speed, or maybe they have the density clearing, but not the mobility, the exact strategy for each individual class is going to really make or break what ends up being the meta for the gauntlet, which is one of the things that I think is the most interesting about this. Whereas things like the Abattoir of Zir really just pushed us to the question of how do you do the most damage and survive the most damage, here some of those considerations aren't really as important. We're playing a different game at this point. But the Ball Lightning Sorceress, like amazing mobility, great density clearing. You notice that slowed down a little bit against that boss though. Depending on the scenario, this might be one of those builds where you basically ignore the bosses whenever possible, unless they have a particularly juicy shrine that you really want to be able to use moving through. But here we have the increased favor drops. We got the reset there, so he's actually able to pop right back into that room where he just got a shrine, kill this boss again. It's just really interesting to see what kind of meta is going to develop as we get further and further into the season.
Yeah, here we see. Actually, yeah, our sorceress is going pretty good on the bosses. Probably, it's worth it to stay here, again, to spam the pylon and to use the power of the pylon. And guys, gonna tell you a little secret. You better not die in the gauntlet. Hardcore players, I understand, but for softcore players, if you're gonna die, you're gonna lose the third of your score. You're gonna respawn in the dungeon. You will be able to pick up your score, but only if you will run back to the place where you died. And this is again, you're wasting way too much time if you're dying in the gauntlet. Here, once again, our sorceress, by the way, current score of our sorceress is 1k, a little bit, we just reached 1k, going really, really good. Progressing further and further into the dungeon, one more pylon is waiting for us, and I want the chest, I want someone to finally open the chest. But so far, no one can get the key. The keys are quite rare, only special monsters are dropping them. Here we go. 4 minutes left.
Yeah, so just over the halfway point, it does look like the sorceress, their natural mobility, I mean, she could teleport, right? That's obviously going to go a little bit faster than somebody running on their two legs, but already doing a really good showing. We're definitely going to crack over that 200k, probably closer to like maybe 300, depending on whether or not he turns on the turbo boosters here. But you're talking about those keys, and maybe I'm just going to spitball this while we're watching here. My mind's kind of already going crazy, theory crafting, trying to figure out what's going to be the best way here. But to be able to open up these chests, like you said, you have to kill specific monsters in the dungeon. They will drop the key. Now, there's the regular chest, there's a golden chest. Obviously, big gold chest, worth more points. But the interesting part here is that how valuable is that for you in your current route is going to completely depend on where you went first. Do you zerg your way all the way up to that key, knowing that you passed by a gold chest in your typical, fully optimized route? Or is that just not part of your strategy at all? There's an interesting dichotomy there where it's just like, depending on where the keys are spawning on the monsters in that week's gauntlet, maybe they are huge, maybe they're pivotal to how you can actually get the highest score possible. Or you kind of have to make the decision, a couple of seconds left in your run, you're like, hey, I got 1 or 2 keys, I see a couple normal chests coming up, I know I'm not going to be able to reach the gold chests, since those are in the same spots as well. I'm going to make that mad dash, I'm going to get back up into there, get those 2 little chests, sure, that's like good enough for me on this run. But being able to make those decisions in the heat of the moment, or at least at first, when everybody doesn't necessarily have their best route already mapped out at that point, is going to be where those like small little spikes in score. I'm really, really excited to see the leaderboard as it develops. Obviously, you're going to be able to see the actual builds that people are bringing into the gauntlet on that same leaderboard, but you're not necessarily going to know how they ran through it, how they prioritize killing bosses versus the elites, etc. So there's still going to be a little bit of mystery, but at the very least, you'll be able to copy the build if you can at least see the gear that they have.
I think there's going to be a lot of mystery. Actually, how we see it right now, it's really a lot about your strategy and not that much. Yeah, Your build obviously will be super important. How quick are you? How quick you can kill the big groups of monsters? How quick you can kill the bosses? But your strategy, I think this will be the key. Your path through this dungeon, this will be deciding. And yes, the leaderboard will be moving from day one, and then the very last day, someone gonna sneak in and will be the top of the leaderboard. Yep, interesting times ahead. Our sorceress, guys, closing almost 200k, and we entered this beautiful room with a lot of chests. We had 2 keys. We opened one chest. We opened the second chest. We are getting a lot of points. We are really close to 200k, and we are moving forward. White chest and yellow chest, they both actually cost only 1 key to open. But obviously, the yellow chests, they are bigger, they are shiny, they are giving you way more points. So, yeah, you need to focus, you need to prioritize if you can, you need to prioritize the yellow chests. We reached 208k, 43 seconds left.
The other thing that I just really want to hammer on here is, again, so this Sorceress's score, although it's going to be a little bit higher than the Necros that we just saw, not by a country mile or anything, but this score is insular to this one leaderboard. The Sorceress's score is only going to be compared against everybody else running the Sorceress. While you can check your ego and check against the other Necromancers, that has no impact at all looking at any other class about how you're going to rank in that leaderboard, whether or not you're going to be immortalized in the halls forever if you hit that top 10 rank. But on top of that, it's not going to impact this, the rewards that you get or anything like that. You just need to worry about what every other sorceress in this game is doing. If you're in a party, you only need to worry about what those other party sizes are doing. It's probably my favorite part about this. While there's going to be differences between the classes, I only need to worry about my class. But perfect. Sorry, I was gamering on here. We got another Seal of the Worthy completion, over 200k score, 7 bosses, 39 elite monsters, 674 monsters. If I could ask for anything, I'd love to see these kind of stats basically at the end of all content in the game. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but seeing those numbers itches some really good part in my min-max brain there.
Yeah, it's really nice to see actually what I accomplished, how many poor demonic souls I sent back to hell. Yeah, I can understand. And we got the reward immediately after each time when you're entering the gauntlet, you're going to be getting a small reward, and you're going to be getting a big reward in the end of each week, depending which seal you reached. I think we are preparing our third player. We're preparing Leviathan. He's almost ready. He's going to be joining us with a barbarian, with a Hota charge barb. I know everyone want to see it, so he's gonna be crushing it really soon. Yeah,
charge Hota barb. That is that's going to be season 3. Season 3 is going to be charge Hota barb. We could just put that up on a banner somewhere. We could take down the construct symbol and just put charge Hota smashing through the game. No, but Leviathan is an absolute legend from the community. Fun fact about Leviathan: we actually lived in the same city for a grip, and we just never got the chance to actually sync up. But just like you, we were able to meet him at BlizzCon. He's a phenomenal dude. Shout outs to Leviathan. But it looks like we're actually ready. So let's go ahead and hop into it. Yep. Enough sharing, anecdotal stories. Let's see this Hota barb. Big boy, big sword.
Let's see.
I'm excited for this.
Let's see. Yep.
Just doing Hota barb things. No, he decided that 15 million overpower was the way he wanted to approach this scenario. But the charge Hota barb. So I think this is kind of like the apex predator of this type of content. We are working with a mobility skill in charge that's also going to be able to clear the trash for you. You have giant Hota smashes so you can bring down bosses quickly, as long as he has all of his buffs going up. And basically being able to meld these two concepts together is what every class build strategy is ultimately going to have to look for. Maybe you're running double mobility aspects, both one on your boots and one on your amulet, as opposed to worrying about putting another damage aspect there. Because again, remember, these monsters are only level 124. It means that they're 30 levels lower than any tier 100 content you're doing. And I figured this guy was about to get 2-shot, but he's giving up a little bit more of a fight here. Let's see. There we go, Leviathan. GG. Big channeling shrine, more mobility, not worrying about resource. This is what we're looking for in Gauntlet content. This power. Jeez. All right, calm down. We need something to be able to talk about here, Leviathan, my boy.
No, he's absolutely smashing. He's absolutely destroying. But like this, if you're not gonna plan, you're gonna soon run out of the monsters. He need to focus on where actually the shrines that are resummoning the monsters are. And yeah, hopefully he has the plan. Yep, he's absolutely flying through this dungeon, picking up everything. His score already 64k, quite insane. And yeah, I believe in our Leviathan. Leviathan, by the way, he was one of the best demon hunters that there is in Diablo 3 back in the days. And now, and absolutely understandable why he's smashing also on this barbarian here. And what is also really, really cool, that you need to obviously memorize the map. You need to memorize where all the monsters are. You need to memorize where the shrines are. What we have here, apparently all the shrines that are resummoning the monsters, the shrines that are giving you also extra score, they're located mostly in one part of the dungeon, and the chests are located in the other part of the dungeon. So yeah, guys, there's going to be a lot of planning, a lot of strategizing here.
Something interesting to note. All right, I'm going to get a little bit deep on details here, because I assume most people haven't studied how shrines work in this game enough to know the numbers off the top of their head. But basically what you're looking at is a 30-second buff that is also going to give you 35% movement speed. The cool part about shrines is that each one of them can layer on top with other unique shrines. So you could have a channeling shrine, as well as a blast wave shrine, as well as an artillery shrine, etc., etc. But getting the same shrine again doesn't actually do anything for you. While it's going to reset that 30-second timer, it's not like you have double blast wave and double movement speed. So when we saw that loop where he actually came back through and immediately killed that boss again, while it makes sense, he knows it's there, he knows it's worth a lot of good score, that doesn't necessarily mean he got the total benefit out of that single shrine. And being able to basically lily hop, or frog hop over these shrines, always maintaining at least one constant buff for them, might be a way of being able to add on mobility to a build that doesn't normally have it. So maybe you're a huge boss killer, but you can't fit mobility anywhere. As long as you can plan out how often you get these shrines, you could effectively link together a full 8 minutes of shrine buff, maybe even longer. There's so many things that you could be picking out of here, right? Stopping at individual little monster packs to make sure that you're maintaining your buffs. So even if you're not necessarily killing them, or they're not high value, you know that you're going to be operating at maximum efficiency when you walk into the next room, where we always will know there will be an elite monster, or there will always be a boss monster in one of these tiles here. My brain is going crazy right now. The more that I see from this content, it's just like so exciting to have something to really strive for in this game, right? We got the gear, we finished all of our farming, all of our grinding. What do we do with it? Well, here's what we do with it. Now we actually have something to test those builds, to re-theory craft on top of. Not to mention all the changes coming in this patch alone. I'm gonna have to rethink all of the builds I was expecting to be able to bring into here and test them. That's probably the biggest chagrin I got is, geez, I got to come up with all brand new builds to incorporate the vampire powers, as well as whatever changes actually come to the core skills themselves as well.
I can hear that Macro is starting theory crafting already right now. He's already tucked here. I'm turning left, here I'm turning right, here I'm touching this. We're already in the process of creating the guide how to do it. Our Barbarian, 217k total amount of proofs of might, going really, really strong. It was actually really, really cool. We were already saying that every character has the separate leaderboard. Also, every character, the amount of score, the total score, the amount proofs of worth that you need to earn to be able to reach different seals, also different for different characters. And this is absolutely amazing, because you don't have to compete with different classes in absolutely any way. And this is great. You also have 2-place leaderboard, 3-place leaderboard, 4-place leaderboard. In total, together with the hardcore, we're getting 16 leaderboards here. It's amazing. And it's all coming already next week. There's gonna be a lot of fun here. Leviathan is moving really, really quick. We have 2 minutes left. We are hitting 236k. He is going on the second run. Basically, he is going again, repeating again his run, but he resetted all the monsters. He has here really, really good choice. He did really good choices, and he had really good chances.
That's a secret substat that I wish we could see on this board. How many total miles or kilometers have you run through this individual gauntlet? Because I'm pretty sure Leviathan has cleared this thing out already 3 times over, and he's still got a cool minute and a half left on the timer here. Definitely going to crack over 300k as long as he doesn't hit a dry patch where nothing had been respawned yet. But, I mean, the dude's great at what he does. There's a reason why you anchor him here, being able to show off the best of the best. And the other interesting part, something that we didn't quite touch on, is you don't just get the rewards from one ladder. There's nothing stopping you from going and doing this on your Barbarian, doing this on your alternate Necromancer, doing this in multiple group types. You could theoretically hit the top of every single ladder. If you're, you know, a crazy master grinder like Wudijo, maybe you go crack softcore and hardcore ladder too. Why not? There's nothing stopping you from competing in as many of these arenas as you have builds to be able to support that competitive nature. I'm only going to worry about the Necromancer. I don't have it in my brain to think about a single other class with how much I need to worry about theory crafting this one. But I'm wondering who's going to be able to like collect the most top leaderboard spots, you know, eating them all up.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the new community challenge. Be able to be #1 on 16 leaderboards. Okay, I'm wondering who that's gonna be now when this content actually will be in the game. We have, guys, a little bit more than 10 seconds left. We're gonna hit 300k. I'm pretty sure.
300k,
boy. Come on, find
that's what we need to see.
Someone.
He did too good. He killed everything already. Oh,
almost.
So close, boss.
So
close. Let's see these numbers though. That's crazy. 81 monsters, 53 elites, 9 bosses. Obviously the most that we saw out of any showing, but phenomenal job here by Leviathan. As always, it's exactly what we expected from him.
Yep, had absolutely zero doubts. Macro, I must say, I'm really, really excited, and I really like that you can get not only the rewards that we're getting, it's a weekly activity. We're getting the new map absolutely every single week, and we're getting the rewards in the end of every single week. We're also getting the rewards after every single run. And yep, I'm happy that the people who are probably not seduced by the leaderboards will be anyway tempted to try it and to see maybe the leaderboard, maybe the gauntlet is something for them. Interesting. Really, really excited about what's waiting for us in the next week. What are you excited about the gauntlet content?
I mean, if I had to pick just one thing, it really comes down to this idea of developing a strategy over a week. You know, we realize, right, you know, as content creators, as streamers, we have a bit of privilege here. The funny part being that everybody is going to be able to watch your strategies. If you're making videos about it, if you're going over strategies, discussing it, basically it's out there. It's open for people to be able to see. So being able to come up with these, maybe a little secret strategy, maybe you save it till just the last couple days and you actually finally test it out. That's probably what's going to be the most exciting for me. It's just this idea of it's not just about damage. It's not just about stats on your gear. It's how good of a plan can you actually create, and how well can you execute on it, which like truly tests the player's skill in a way that the other content in the game just currently doesn't offer. But I think that's just going to go ahead and do it for us. This has been such a pleasure, Anna. Thank you very much for, you know, sharing this with me. I hope that everybody really enjoyed what they saw here.
I actually hope so too. And yeah, macro theory crafter here, absolutely. Had zero doubts that you're going to say this. Guys, it was an incredible pleasure to be here. Was really, really happy to comment on our first gauntlet. I'm Anna Cake Live. I don't know, follow, like, and subscribe. And Macro, you want to say something? You want to add something?
Yeah. And again, my name is MacroBioBoy. MacroBioBoy on everything. If you care to see me go try to smash the Necro through this gauntlet. Thank you again to everybody. It was an absolute honor here. I think we're going to go ahead and throw it back to Adam and everybody in the studio. Hope that everybody enjoyed seeing the gauntlet, and I can't wait to see you all out there next week.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Macro, Anna, for taking us through that. Of course, our 3 volunteers from the dev team. We got John, we got Steven, and Liam for running through.
Yeah, pretty great.
Steven actually hit, actually all of them hit higher scores than they did when we were first running through this.
They did.
They were learning they were learning the dungeon because, again, with Gauntlet, it is a weekly dungeon that does get changed
it's
over.
fixed. I mean, every spawn, every creature you come through, every chest location, every key drop, like every boss, every shrine, it's all fixed every time you do the runs, and that's what allows you to have that sense of like, okay, I know a little bit more about this space now. I can run it again. I'll do a little bit better.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I know with we saw some questions of like players, are going like, hey, because we have 3 different classes here, and again, they're all on their own unique leaderboards themselves.
Yeah, every class has its own unique leaderboard. So when you're playing, Charged Barbarian for the season, you're playing against other barbarians, on the leaderboard. But we also have 2-player, 3-player, and 4-player leaderboards as well for players who want to get into parties and try to compete. So we think that's going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah. And then I know in regards to rewards and stuff, like depending on the seal that you get, you'll actually get more caches, and the caches themselves offer up a 925 like ancestral that I believe is in each cache. So I believe if you get a seal of the worthy, you end up getting 4 each time. And these aren't exactly like the idea of Gauntlet itself is really aspirational. So there are opportunities for players themselves to, of course, earn themselves into the Hall of the Ancients each week, and then you're kind of added onto a permanent record, you could say, put it on your resume type of thing, of for forever for each week in the Hall of the Ancients, depending on where you actually land on the leaderboards.
Yeah, we don't really want to see the Gauntlet and the Trials feature as a place where players go to try to get gear for their builds. Really more of a place where players are going to go once they've got like really good builds put together to kind of try things out. But yeah, for players who do manage to clear, for every seal that they manage to complete at the end of the week, based on their highest ranking, they're going to get a cache like you called out. And there's a high chance of unique items actually appearing in these caches as well. So you can get 925 uniques out of these. But again, these are really like, more augmenting other things you've been collecting over the course of the season, not like being the primary reason that you're going to the space in the first place.
Yeah, and we actually have a blog that's going up after the stream that actually details out all the information in the Gauntlet, including some other rewards as well for players that hit like the really, really high ranks of, where they can potentially earn some cosmetic items as well for Gauntlet. So Gauntlet, again, hitting next Tuesday. And I know for like the first couple weeks, we want to make sure that players are jumping in, trying it out, especially with these new changes that are coming with the mid-season update, the vampiric powers and everything like that. And then, let us know what you guys think. And then post up feedback on, Reddit, forums, social media. We're going to be checking it out for Gauntlet, making any tweaks if we need to make any tweaks. And then I know we actually have a cool contest that's coming up here, starting on that's tied back to Gauntlet. It's actually starting on March 19th. We're calling it Leaderboard Legends. But the top players in each of the leaderboards, and there are again leaderboards for all the different classes, for all solo, and at the same time for hardcore as well. So if you play in hardcore and if you die in a Gauntlet, your character's gone. It is hardcore for that reason. So, but we will have opportunities for players to actually earn an exclusive art print from an artist named Mika Ulrich. He's a huge Diablo fan. He actually is making a customized art print. That contest itself will be running for 2 weeks. So we'll have more information on that contest as we get closer to March 19th, but players that do compete on the leaderboards, they'll have the opportunity of actually earning a exclusive like customized art print as well, which is actually pretty cool. So Gauntlet shipping next Tuesday, and it'll be in our mid-season patch notes that we have going up tomorrow. So and we have a blog going later today with a lot of stuff posting. So really cool
stuff. Stuff happening.
Yes,
now here
exactly.
Back end. Yeah.
One thing we did want to hit on, and this is some pretty big news from our end. One is it's an update regarding Season 4, and I know Joe wanted to talk a little bit about it.
So I'm very excited. So we've been talking about Season 4 a little bit, but like leading up to the release of Season 3, I mentioned some things about Season 4. We know there's gonna be a lot of changes being made in that season. You may recall, for some of you who've been around since the launch of the game, we had some streams after Season 1 went live. We talked a little bit about some of the changes we wanted to make in Season 2. And we remember that vulnerable damage to vulnerable targets was like an extremely powerful stat, an all-encompassing stat, really in that part of the game. And we had to go back and we really wanted to take a harder and longer look at that, look at overpowering some other things, and try to get the game into a better place. There were just more viable stats for players to proceed with. And that was a good amount of work, I think, that we can
Yeah, it
suggest.
was.
And yeah, it was a really great impact on the game overall, but it was, there's some work involved. Season 4 goes well beyond like the scope and scale and changes that we made in Season 2, particularly with regards to things like our stats, attributes, and the way that rewards work. So while there were a lot of things that we did in Season 2, and we're really happy with a lot of things in Season 2 as a result, there was a much better version and expression of the game experience overall. We have a lot more planned in Season 4, and the team has been hard at work for months and months working on a lot of these things inside. So Season 3 came out, we had some changes with it. I think it's gone very, very well. There's a lot of really fun stuff in Season 3. Season 4 is going to be responding to a lot more of the reward concerns that players have, a lot of things with regards to itemization, and other things we're not going to talk about just yet. But the news that we actually wanted to talk about today is that we're going to be opening up a PTR for Season 4 so that we can get a chance to let the community come in and test it extensively before the
public
content
test
actually goes
round.
live when
Finally.
Season 4 launches. So it'll be coming up, while Season 3 is still active, the Season 4 PTR will go live, and players get a chance to check that out and give us the feedback, and if they find issues and balance things, and we'll get a chance to kind of interpret all that and make some changes as we
Finally,
go.
PTR. Took 4 seasons.
Yeah, and I know players themselves have been asking, hey, how can we make Diablo a better experience? We want to be a part of it.
Totally.
It's something that the team here has most definitely heard. Yeah. As Joe mentioned, there's a ton of changes, especially around itemization that are coming into Season 4. So the team here really did feel a need for a PTR for players to jump in, try it out, provide their feedback while Season 3 is still active, of course, because we want to make sure that players are jumping in before Season 4 actually does start. And giving us that feedback so we can make any type of tweaks and changes from our end. And I know the team here has been doing a lot of work to incorporate a PTR into Diablo 4, especially for the first time. And so what we will say is PTR, of course, will be before Season 4 starts. We'll actually have more information here in the coming weeks. We're actually going to have another campfire chat specifically focused around PTR and the content that you'll be playing in PTR. So it's kind of, it will be a little bit of a reveal of what you'll be experiencing in Season 4 as well. So it's going to be...
There'll be some things we'll hold on to talk about
some
closer to
things
Season
we'll hold
4
on.
launch,
Not everything.
But a huge amount of stuff.
There's going to be a lot.
Huge amount of stuff to talk about for Season 4 them.
And I will say it will be we're already talking about it and going wow, it's going to be a pretty beefy campfire chat coming up here in the next couple of weeks. We'll have more info soon. But and one thing that we did want to note is it is just PC BattleNet to be as agile as we want to be with the changes on PTR. PC BattleNet was the best option for us. Right. So players on PC BattleNet will be able to experience the PTR themselves. And I will say with PTR, because of the changes that are coming with Season 4 and the amount of changes, as I said, the team felt like, hey, we need a PTR to make sure this happens. Does that mean we'll have a PTR every single season? Maybe not. It depends on the scale of changes that we have. But for Season 4, we most definitely plan on having a PTR. And so we'll have news on that really soon. So we're really excited that players can jump in, provide feedback. I know it's a long-awaited thing that people have been going oh, we would love to be able to jump in and provide some feedback. Yeah, absolutely.
I've been playing Season 4 internally for weeks at this point, leveling up character from 1 to 100, and it's a blast. I'm really looking forward to getting more feedback and thoughts, just getting more eyeballs and some of the stuff that we have planned. It's going to be very, very cool.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, like I said, we'll be back here in the next few weeks. We'll have information on when that campfire chat will be for PTR and all the information that you guys will be experiencing in that PTR specifically. So, and just because I know not everyone has experienced a PTR, I probably should define what a PTR is. Yeah. It is a public test realm. It is the ability of players being able to jump into a earlier build. And kind of test it out. Think of it almost like a mini beta test of some sort to experience content that is coming down the line so that they can actually provide feedback over to us. Yeah. And then we can make changes before things do go live. We've had PTRs for Diablo 2, we've had PTRs for Diablo 3, and of course now we have PTRs for Diablo 4. So really excited for that. And again, we'll be back in a couple weeks to talk about that. Right. We'll now jump into Q&A. Yeah, we know that a lot of people have questions, and we'll try to get through as many as possible. And then we'll remind everyone at the end of the stream of checking out the site for all the Gauntlet information and stuff like that if we can't get to stuff.
Vlogs going live.
Live. Yep. So I know one question that we've seen a lot, at least within the community, is regarding the changes in 1.3.2 with the crafting changes, the ability of being able to craft Uber uniques. And we've seen some feedback from players related to that, especially related to like Resplendent Sparks, how many are required for them. I know you guys wanted to talk about that really quickly.
Yeah,
Keep it at
I'll jump into
5.
this first, right? So
Don't lower it.
for the uninitiated in 1.3.2 in our last patch, we put in the ability for players to be able to craft these Uber unique items of their choice
They better not lower it.
World Tier 4.
They bet not.
And they require Resplendent Sparks to do so. And you get Resplendent Sparks by finding another Uber unique, which are very rare, salvage them, and then that gives you the one material that you need. Now, at launch, you need 5 Resplendent Sparks in order to craft one of these Uber uniques. In the next patch, where this is going to be where the Gauntlet's going live and the trial system is going live, we're going to be reducing that from 5 to 4. Now, why did we choose these numbers?
That's not too
so,
bad. That's
alongside
not too bad.
those changes
5
we
to
made
4 is okay.
as part of that last release, we also dramatically increased the drop rate of Uber uniques from non-Duriel sources. So while Duriel gives you a fairly steady drop rate chance, still low, obviously, it's hard to find Uber unique items in general. They're very rare and very powerful. It was exceptionally rare, as I think most players would understand, to find Uber uniques outside of the encounter of Uber Duriel, which is one of the reasons why Uber Duriel is so popular.
Let's use the correct terminology.
We did dramatically increase that drop rate chance. It's still very rare, right? So you're not going to be seeing it all the time, but we are seeing a dramatic uptick in the number of Uber uniques that are dropping throughout the game as a result of this. So why go from, if we heard some of the concerns about the number 5, why would we go from just a 20% reduction to 4? So we are seeing more of these Uber uniques dropping across the board, as I suggested. And this is sort of us beginning to get a sense of how players are interacting with these features as we start looking towards Season 4. So in terms of like the number of Uber uniques that are dropping, the way that players are engaging with various parts of the game overall to like farm up these items, we're seeing some changes in patterns, which is really cool. We just want to let things evolve a little bit and see how things proceed. And as we kind of get into Season 4, we'll be looking at making potentially further adjustments based upon reception and how we see the numbers actually doing. Yeah. We still want Uber uniques to remain in a spot where they are very aspirational. They're not expected for every build to have them in order for them to come online and feel fun. Obviously, players really want them. You want them for your characters. They're really potent. But they shouldn't be the thing that is enabling you to really do something fun with your class. It's an extra layer on top of your class once you've managed to get one.
Awesome. Question that we have here is, are we getting any endgame content in season? I'm sorry, I was supposed to read the name.
Oh God,
Hey, don't put your names, it doesn't count.
Jucklax asks.
Jucklax?
Jucklax.
Or Juck with a J.
Juck with the J.
I'm sure everyone's really happy that we're spending all this time on this.
Very important.
Are we getting any endgame content in Season 4?
So I'm not allowed to talk about Season 4 today, but I would recommend that you definitely check out the PTR stream when we start talking about a lot of the content players are going to get a chance to test as part of that PTR release, because there is a lot of stuff that's going to be happening, particularly for endgame players.
There we go. There's a question regarding Gauntlet. Wink.
I said it, so that's,
So, congratulations. We have a question from Globusnus. That was, why is the level difficulty only Nightmare 70 for the Gauntlet?
Yes. So we wanted to make sure that Gauntlet content felt like something players could start trying to dig into immediately upon entering World Tier 4. Why did we do this? We want players to be able to like ramp up through the content as they're leveling up through that last World Tier. And we wanted to see how players were going to react to it, basically, as a result of that. Like, do players ever want to try playing through it at 85? Because when you're playing through the Gauntlet, there's the seals that I think were discussed during the playthrough. The players can earn based on the point scores you're able to get. If you're crushing those point scores, you're getting rewards for doing that. And it gives you that sense of progression as you go, and you get more and more of your gear online. You find more of the uniques you need. You manage to get you start getting your 925 items online. Like a lot of your player power can come online as you get your glyphs leveled up and things. It doesn't mean that you need to wait to level at a very high level to be able to go do that content. So we want to make it available, and we also want to focus a little bit more on how quickly players can navigate the space. Use shrines to the best effect, reset creature spawns, fight bosses, spawn bosses. We want to focus more on the strategy element of it rather than the sense that monsters had much higher hit point values and dealt much more damage as part of the run. We weren't looking to recreate the AOZ moment, for example, as part of the space. We want this to be a little bit faster, a little bit more approachable for players of different gear scores effectively when they start getting and build power parity when they start getting to the space. having like a fully tricked out build can still be very, very useful because it allows you to blast a lot faster.
Yeah, and also I'd like just to double down, like the purpose of the gauntlet it's not meant to be really, really hard to get through at all, where like if you just finish it, that's an accomplishment, right? Like AOZ was more that room, like can you beat it?
Yeah.
And that's not what the gauntlet is. The gauntlet is about how quickly can you beat it, how do you optimize, how do you strategize, how do you change your route? It's a different thing that we're testing for players. It's not just about defeating it at all.
It's about the point score.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of AOZ, Sparky Quark 7 asks, any AOZ content coming soon?
I just really recommend, again, check out, I mean, just
really look at that stream.
There's a lot of stuff
watch
happening
that
in the
stream.
PTR stream. I just really recommend just get a chance to check out that stream. I would recommend it.
I'm going to answer this really quickly because Shark Cohen had asked, is the P and PTR public or private? It is public. So if you are a PC Battle.net user, you'll be able to actually jump into the PTR. We'll have instructions and everything of how to do that once we have the PTR up and we have the stream and everything like that for players. Is PTR free from Midwest Bob? Yes, it is. Is there an NDA? No, there's not an NDA. Can you stream it? Of course you can. So yes, we'll have more information on that again with the PTR.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of PTR questions.
I just want to make really clear, like it is free as long as you are a person who owns Diablo 4 on Battle.net.
Correct.
So
yes, correct.
Yeah,
Yes. It's if you're already an owner of Diablo 4 on Battle.net. Good clarification. Fonz asks, Adam, will you be able to see a breakdown of individual score relative to the other people in your party in the gauntlet? Actually, that's a good question. If you can go to the leaderboard and actually inspect players, because I haven't done that myself on the build. So
yeah, right now it's party score, so it's totaling up the value of your whole team.
Person,
yeah,
got it. Okay.
There is no I in team. Or party.
I guess my own sub-question to that would be on a solo leaderboard, would you be able to actually see someone's build if they have their profile not private or something like that? Can you actually pull up their character?
Yeah, you'll be able to see the skills they have equipped at the time, and you'll be able to see like their key passive. So yeah, you can't look at their whole skill tree, but like you can see a lot of information about them.
Awesome.
Because we don't talk about this, but we actually did make some updates to the profile screen. We made some updates at the same time. They'll be showing up in that release.
Imligit says, will the Gauntlet leaderboard be region locked? No, because everyone's playing technically on a global server.
That's right.
When you do play with your friends in your own region, you just tend to connect to them. You tend to connect to people that are playing near you because of obviously latency and stuff like that. So,
that's right.
Does the companion go with you in the gauntlet? So I think I saw this comment a lot, well, especially when Stephen Leviathan was playing through because he was the charge barb. And so a lot of people thought he didn't have a Seneschal construct with him. No, just charge barbs just move really fast. So he most definitely was there. The construct was there and was following him and stuff like that. So
it'll be with you inside.
It will be with you inside the gauntlet. And just so that you guys are aware, Gauntlet is a feature that is not just Season 3. Yeah. It is a feature that goes beyond Season 3. This is a part of Diablo 4 going forward.
So generally your seasonal powers and things will go into the Gauntlet. You'll be able to bring everything to bear that you can.
Yeah, we talked about this quite a bit actually, whether we wanted that to be the case, and we think it's more fun to allow these things to coexist.
Question from Cody4PF. Why is there minimal mob density in Gauntlet? The barb ran out of density. How am I supposed to play this with my friends? I think players, with Gauntlet is like a different type of like play style. Players will most definitely have. You'll learn the dungeon throughout that week. You'll learn that you can actually take bosses. You don't have to kill that boss right there. You can most definitely bypass it. Maybe even like leash it or bring it with you into other rooms.
You might want to save it because you might want the shrine later in a different way.
There are shrines that actually bring back mobs back to life, so you can immediately get additional score. And so there's a lot of strategy involved with it. So I know a lot of people are going like, hey, there are specific moments where like Steven was like, didn't have anyone to kill there. It's mainly because, you can actually strategize and pull specific things and try to figure out exactly what ends up working really well for your character, your build, or how you want to actually maybe use shrines to benefit exactly who you kill there.
Yeah, we're not looking to make a slow-paced experience with the Gauntlet, which I think you probably saw. You saw the players getting a chance to check it out earlier. But we're also not trying to maximize density in the same way that we would in like Nightmare Dungeons or HellTide areas. Players aren't getting loot drops and they're not getting a lot of experience from these creatures. So that really the focus is on the player having an idea of like where they can find packs of mobs and where mobs can be found in general in the space, and navigating the environment carefully in order to like maximize their point gain during that time, and then interacting with these other things along the way. What's with why are you smiling?
It's just, I have a question from someone in here, but they have the most hilarious username.
I look forward to this.
I'm gonna say it, but it's hilarious.
Just go.
Bob Dole's Blue Pills asks,
Very good.
any possibility of getting better cosmetics through gameplay, maybe through gauntlets, skins on par from the shop, etc. This is actually a active conversation that's been happening a lot, especially based off of community feedback that we've seen regarding the shop and stuff. So I will say that we don't have anything to say right now, but we'll have some more news regarding some items related to the shop that we'll be sharing here over the coming weeks and months and stuff that will kind of help with some of this conversation that I know that we've been hearing. Sorry, that name was just, wow. Al Quadrodia asks...
killing it over there.
I know, amazing. Adam, perfect. Where can we find new vampiric legendary aspects? This is something we mentioned at the beginning of the stream, and if for people that are just kind of tuning in, vampiric powers are coming back into Season 3 a little bit, tuned a little bit differently.
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah, so you'll be able to find them the same way you can find any other legendary in the game. They're just going to be random drops everywhere. None of them, just to clarify, they're not going to be in the dungeons like the Codex of Power. None of them are going in there, but you'll be able to find them just like other legendaries, just randomly out in the world. So no different than any of those.
Awesome. Chronics TR, Nightmare Vaults were a community favorite and very awesome to run through. Will they come back after Season 3?
There are a lot of really good learnings from Nightmare Vaults and a lot of the content we have in Season 3 that's kind of advising things we're doing with Nightmare Dungeons across the board. While Nightmare Vaults themselves are not immediately returning like in Season 4, for example, they are also something we're going to be continuing to look at and think about for future releases. So, but we're really glad that players have found like some value in them and just how exciting they are and how punchy they are on the reward side. Yeah. So yeah, they're fun. They're a great disruption to the Nightmare Dungeon loop sometimes too.
Yeah.
Afrojack365 says, do you guys plan on offering an armory to maybe swap builds? And this is something that we've heard a lot over.
Yeah. We've talked about it before too on stream.
Yeah.
We really like this idea. The systems teams, the UI teams, all like the idea of doing this. There are plans for us to add it somewhere in the future, but we don't have dates to talk about yet. This is something we really like the idea of. We want to make sure that the game is, when we launched the game, we had this idea of like having some sense of like build permanence and things. We thought that was really important. Harkening back to some of the some bits in the past from Diablo 2 and other games. But increasingly as we've been continuing to build the game and receive feedback and play it ourselves, we're finding we really want to be able to embrace a lot more flexibility. You'll see some steps in that direction also in Season 4. But this is an example of a thing where it's like, well, we do, in an effort to make sure the players can kind of change the way they want to play more easily, this is a feature we'd like to support. We want to do it the right way. So this, these are things we'll continue to be discussing.
Yeah, and this is on top of some of the other feedback that we've seen from players going hey, social features and things like that. I know it's a priority within the team. They're working on things and stuff, and we'll have more info to share here soon on those aspects. I'll end on this. This one's a good one for Mr. Adam Jackson.
Sure.
Because this specifically talks about the Necromancer and some of the changes that are coming. This is from First Time Cheddar. Why would you guys remove damage from Death Reach's passive? Is that contrary to the no nerfs policy you had mentioned for mid-season updates? Why didn't you just add speed on top of the damage?
Yeah. I would say one, as far as comparing damage to move speed, I think it's a pretty clear winner that move speed is a better stat and has more power than damage in our game. I think when we think about necromancers in general, even across the game in general, we undervalued move speed as far as how strong it is. We knew it was strong and good, but we didn't realize just how important and almost one-dimensional move speed. If you have the option to teleport or move faster or get something quickly, that matters more than pretty much every other stat once you get to a point where you can kill things quickly, right? So as far as why didn't we just add move speed on top of the damage, generally when it comes to our passives, we try to keep our passives simply designed of this is what the passive does, and it's all themed together and makes sense in a specific way. So we try not to have a lot of different effects on a single passive, or even ones that are very disparate that don't really make sense to be together. And I think moving quickly and having damage to distant enemies doesn't you move quickly to close distance, not to stay distant more often than not because you're moving forward through a dungeon. So yeah, that was just a call that we made. It's something we can very easily add damage back to the Necromancer in a more
think
general way
you
too,
already
which
have
we
in
do.
different ways, but yes.
Yeah, you know, we add damage in a bunch of different plays. Like, damage is very easy to add, whereas move speed, not so much. So we thought that the passive slot was a really good way because we really wanted just a generic passive. The Barbarian, I believe, also has one now that just gives you more move speed, so you can just go through the game better.
Yeah.
So we felt like it was just a better choice for the class, and like I don't think that too many people are going to miss damage to
Lord,
distance
this
as
is
much
dragging
because
on.
it's way more niche than something that's just generically strong like move speed. And you know, if Necromancers need
Distant
damage, we have a
damage
million places you can
sucks.
add back.
It's not a
We're too worried
nerf.
about that.
Distant damage
Awesome.
sucks.
And you had
It
mentioned like
sucks.
even like Necromancers.
Nobody uses
are getting
distant
the-
damage.
because a lot of these mid-season updates themselves are related to minions, and a lot more changes are even coming in season 4. You had mentioned beforehand as well. So
Yeah, I think it's important to maybe address the other part of like, did we see this as kind of going back on our promise to not nerf things? You know, so I think this is why we kind of resist the urge generally in mid-season patches to redesign things completely, because then it's kind of a crapshoot. Like, is it a buff? Is it a nerf? If it's a redesign, and it could be seen poorly. We just felt like in this case, move speed is such a clear win that we were willing to do that. But we're open to the feedback, and you know, if this is
Necromancer
too
needs
risky
it.
to the players
He
and they don't
needs
like that, then we're willing
He
to
needs the
bend on
move
that. I think
speed.
that's
He
okay.
doesn't have enough
We
move
just felt like this
speed.
was kind
He
of
needs
open
the
and
move
shut
speed.
case.
Like,
cool. Well,
just
thank you guys very much for the insight and the info on the mid-season update, and of course Gauntlet. Again, thank you again to Macro Bioboy and Anna Cake Live for
Yeah,
joining
thank you
us,
both.
and
Very
our 3
good.
devs, John, Steven, and Liam, for jumping
Yeah.
in and playing through. Again, Gauntlet is coming out with 133, which is our mid-season update. That will be hitting next Tuesday. On March 5th, so players will be
March
able to
5th.
actually jump in,
Okay,
check out
March
Gauntlet.
5th,
We're really
next
looking
Tuesday.
forward to seeing the feedback for the first couple weeks,
Yeah.
and you know, letting us know like, hey, are there any tweaks and stuff like that that we can end up doing? We'll be monitoring that from that end. Another thing that we'll be monitoring is the question we asked earlier, that Adam had asked earlier, about how people want to see specific updates happen with classes and like and that you guys may have. So like, by all means, have those conversations on various
Yeah.
community channels. We'll be checking those out. Let us know what you guys actually think. And just a reminder, Diablo 4 is coming to Game Pass. Later this, I almost said later this.
Xbox
it's
Game
2/29.
Pass.
It's a leap year day, by the way.
Oh,
it is not
$3.99.
March yet. Bamboozled. But it's coming later in March. It'll be on March 28th. So players will be able to check it out on Game Pass. Diablo 4 will be the first Blizzard title on Game Pass. We're really excited about that. So patch notes tomorrow. We'll see you guys then.
Blog post.
And blog post. And there's actually a blog post up right after this stream for the Gauntlet. So make sure to check that out for all the information related to Gauntlet before next week. And of course, we will be back in a couple weeks to talk about that beefy campfire chat related to PTR and Season 4. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you guys very much. We hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow to check out all the patch notes. So yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we'll do a recap, and we're gonna talk about all this stuff real quick. But before we do that, I want to share a meme with you guys. A couple people in chat were talking about Last Epoch, and I said that Last Epoch's launch was a hamster fire. And while they may have fixed things, surely this sums up the Last Epoch launch like very, very well. By the way, hold on, I gotta make sure that I have the site unmuted. We need this. We need this at full volume. That was the entire Last Epoch launch. If you participated in the launch of Last Epoch, this was literally the launch. Oh, my dear Lord Jesus. I'm sure it's gotten better since the launch day, but if you missed the launch day, you didn't miss a lot. This is basically what we did all day long. That's basically what we did all day long. So let's do a little recap here and let's talk about some of this stuff. So first off, let's go over the Gauntlet real quick, just as a quick
In
kind of
70.
like thing. So the Gauntlet is set at a lower power level, and that's a good thing because it means that everybody can participate. You don't want to like lock half of your user base out of a content. On top of this, it also becomes less about who has the biggest hit and who has the most power, and it becomes more strategic in adding in movement speed, reducing power to accommodate, things like obviously making yourself run faster, maybe working in teleport, maybe working in various other things that you can use to make your character go faster. You might focus on dishing out more damage to large groups as opposed to single target, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, it seems like there's a specific pathway that you can take in here. You have to collect the keys, you get the chests, specific bosses can drop specific shrines. There's definitely going to be some strategy to it. And I think that's where the level 124 monsters come in. So you don't have to have your character strong enough to do Nightmare 100 dungeons. You just have to be strong enough to do 124 dungeons and then balance your character around that, which is going to be a much more fun adventure. Because when you put content at, say, tier 100, then everybody has to be capable of doing tier 100 before they can try to work their gear around to become faster, or dish out more AoE damage, or dish out more single target damage, or maybe they're looking for other advantages that they can add in, right? So when you position the content way up here, you restrict your player base's ability to change how they have their character made. You restrict their options essentially, because they know that to hit this content they have to be set up a certain way, right? Well, if you drop it a little bit, even though it's only just a little bit down to 70, now you give people the wiggle room to kind of work their gear around and have fun figuring out exactly how they want to have their character set up. And it's a good thing in my opinion. And I called this before the Gauntlet was ever launched. I was like, they better have it at a lower difficulty than tier 100 so that everybody can participate essentially, and also so that gear is not so much of a factor as, say, strategy and how you have your character set up, which is going to be more of a factor here than anything. So like, it seems obvious here that you're going to need large amounts of AoE damage. There's also multiple bosses, so you're going to need large amounts of single target damage as well, which says to me that in group content with these Gauntlet runs, a very, very effective group would be one particular player who is very, very effective at single target and one player who is very, very effective at AoE. I have several characters in mind for high AoE damage, and I have several characters in mind for high single target damage. So it should be fun to see how that goes in group content. I think the group content is going to be more fun than the single player content, judging by the way they have this set up, because there are tons of characters that are good at AoE and there are tons of characters that are good at single target, but there's not very many characters and builds that are good at both. So in this particular situation, when you're talking about the single player ladder or the single player leaderboards or whatever you want to call it, the single player leaderboards is going to be consistent mainly of characters who are capable of single target and AoE damage together. However, in group play, you don't necessarily have to have that restriction. So the group play is probably going to be a lot more fun in Gauntlet because you're going to be able to combine together multiple different damage types. You can have one guy who's just really good at AoE, one guy that's just really good at single target, and then maybe you have one guy that just spams pull-ins all the time so that everything dies effectively. And maybe you have a barbarian along for the ride just to like spam run speed so that everybody's just booking it through the dungeon as fast as humanly possible, right? There'll be some strategy to it, so it'll be fun to play around with it. I'd be interested to hop in, at least give it a try with my Bone Spirit Necromancer. My Bone Spirit Necromancer is pretty good. They also did some class changes. Let's see here. Let's go back to the mid-season updates, the beginning of the mid-season updates. Mid-season updates. There we go. So they're bringing back the vampiric powers. They're bringing back Accursed Touch, Blood Boil, Hectic, Metamorphosis, Moonrise, and Undying. Now, Moonrise is an absolutely excellent one for basic skill builds, and basic skill builds are... we're in love with Moonrise, if I'm being perfectly honest. Moonrise was like the freaking like man-child baby of the basic skill world. So like if you I don't even know what I just said. The Moonrise ability basically just made those basic builds really flourish. And so having that one back is absolutely great. Metamorphosis coming back represents a very interesting opportunity for basically everybody to have tons of Unstoppable again, and also fixes the Necromancer's lack of Unstoppable, which the Necromancer literally has no Unstoppable whatsoever. And in fact, I was actually noticing this last season, or season 3, that literally, without Metamorphosis and without any way to trigger any kind of unstoppable, I was completely incapable of using Tybalt's Will. Tybalt's Will gives you a multiplier when it's active, when you're unstoppable, right? Well, the only quote-unquote unstoppable ability that Necromancer has is the stupid Blood Mist, which doesn't let you attack while you're using it unless you're using Corpse Explosion. And basically, you can't get the effect of Tybalt's with Blood Mist. And because Necromancer has no other way to become unstoppable, they had no other way to use Tybalt, so it's kind of stupid. So I guess they can finally use Tybalt again. Hectic, which is the power that lets you kind of like reset other abilities by spamming your abilities. That one's really nice to come back. Undying is the heal, which can come in handy if you are needing to spam heals. Now, these are coming back as legendary affixes or legendary powers. So as you can see here, here's the Accursed Touch, which is the one that gives you the Vampiric Curse, and then gives you the Stored Souls. That one was actually pretty popular. Then there's the Overpower one, which gives you the Volatile Blood Drops that cause to explode, dealing physical damage around you, but it also guarantees an Overpower once every 20 seconds. The Undying is the heal, so that's coming back as an actual defensive mechanic, so we could put that on there so you can spam heals on yourself. On top of that, we're also getting back Metamorphosis. They did add a cooldown increase to your evade, which might not seem like a lot, but considering that they also added the Juggernaut aspect this season, which also increases your cooldown of your evade by 100%, I'm assuming that even if you had the 5-second increase and then you had the 100% Juggernaut on at the same time, your evade's going to go to a pretty large amount of time. Obviously, the damage doesn't really matter in Metamorphosis. Everybody was just using it for the unstoppable effect. And then the Moonrise here, they brought that back for the attack speed bonus as well as the basic skill multiplier and the movement speed. It's definitely going to be a good one for those basic builds. And then as you can see right here, there's the Hectic. After casting 5 basic skills, one of your active cooldowns will be reduced by 4 seconds. So this one was really fun to use on a lot of builds, so you could basically just spam your basic skills to reset your other skills. And I think a lot of people used Hectic during the season of the Vampire. Very, very effective ability. Since they are legendary affixes, you're going to have to work them into your builds. So they also talked about snapshot fixing. Pretty excited about this because the snapshotting problem has been a pretty big issue for quite some time. And how I see it is basically this. If your average player who picks up the game today doesn't know what snapshotting is and can't figure it out unless someone shows him, or like he watches a YouTube video that specifically shows him how to use the exploit, then it doesn't belong in the game. Nothing that's that unintuitive, that requires like a law degree in game economics, is something that needs to be in the game anyway. So I'm glad that they're finally working towards fixing snapshotting and getting rid of it. The Gauntlet, not being able to change your skill tree, your gear, or your Paragon while inside the Gauntlet, again, is a very good move for the same reason that snapshotting needs to be fixed. Because a lot of the times when it comes to changing your gear, skill, and trees, that was actually how people were performing the snapshotting stuff. They would then like put on one piece of equipment, use a skill, enter the dungeon, take off that piece of equipment, put on another piece of equipment. So this will lock a lot of the snapshotting stuff out of the Gauntlet by preventing players from being able to swap pieces of equipment and cause that kind of silly stuff from going on. Rogue, they talked about the Weapon Mastery passive apparently was double dipping on critical strike damage, so that might explain why we were getting such big hits on the Precision Key passive. So it looks like they're going to be fixing that. The Seneschal is getting a little bit of nerfs. Not really too big of a deal because the Seneschal's already kind of overpowered anyway. I think a lot of people, once they saw that the Seneschal could literally solo Duriel by itself, and among other crazy things that the Seneschal was pulling off, I don't think anybody's going to be too sad of a little bit of nerfs on the Seneschal. And it's not even really all that big of a deal. Apparently there was a Barbarian Warcry, Druid Bloodhowl, like double dipping sort of thing that was going on. They seem to have a problem with the double dipping thing. It's almost as if they don't understand their own math that they put into the game. Let's see here. The nerf to Tempest was a little rough, though. No longer gains bonus damage and duration when it is reapplied or when it spreads. I'll have to see how that goes. I use Tempest on pretty much all my Seneschals. The Barbarian, they admitted the Barbarian's overpowered as all get out, and they basically said they're not going to be nerfing Charge. So for all you Charge-loving Barbarians this season, you're fine. They said they were going to be boosting up the basic skills, so that's neat. The Strategic Ground Stomp ultimate cooldown increased from 1 to 2 seconds. That's kind of nice. Not really sure about the rest. I mean, they're all right. They really didn't do a lot. They talked about beefing up Gower's Devastating Grips again, but I'm not really sure if that's going to be enough. They've been playing around with Gower's Devastating Grips way too much. They nerfed it, they buffed it, they nerfed it again, they buffed it. Like, they need to just, like, settle on something and figure that freaking piece of equipment out. Or just delete it from the game and make a new pair of gloves or something, because it's just languishing in like the hell of ex-wives at this particular point. It's terrible. That poor dad Gower's Devastating Grips. The Sorceress, they talked about buffing the crap out of Incinerate, which needs it. I ran an Incinerate Sorceress one season, and it just really didn't seem very strong. And that was during the Vampiric season, where you actually had a really nice channeling buff that gave you a huge damage reduction, all sorts of other amazing things, and we don't even have that now. And Incinerate is definitely not as good as it was during the Vampiric season when you had access to those channeling buffs. They also talked about buff to conjuration skills and buffs to underused passives and Paragon glyphs. They focus a lot on underused stuff, and they know what we don't use, which is actually really silly, because they'll leave stuff in the game that we just don't use. They're like, you know that thing that you guys just never touch? They're like, oh, you mean this aspect that I throw away immediately as soon as I get it all the time? They're like, yeah, that one. We're going to buff that one up. And then they buff it up and like, yeah, it still sucks. I'm still throwing it in the trash can. And like, well, at least we tried. It's terrible too, because there's one on the Necromancer that they've buffed like 4 times, and every single time they buff the one on the Necromancer, it's like the Golem one that like makes the Golem spawn more corpses. Nobody touches that thing, and every time they buff it, they make it just a little bit better to make it more enticing, but it's still not good. Like, and nobody is still using it, so I don't know what they're gonna do with that aspect eventually. Druid's also getting some basic skill buffs, wind shear buffs, spirit generation increases, damage increases. Yeah, wind shear definitely did need a little bit of a buff. They talked about companion damage buffs. So wolves, poison creeper, and ravens. I've been trying to run a companion druid ever since the game started, and it just never really seems all that viable. I mean, there's ways that you can make it work where you can have your core skill do lots of damage by having tons of companions, and you know, like they just never really. The poison creeper is overpowered, but the wolves and the ravens are kind of meh. And they also talked about buffing underused passives on the druid, and then on top of that, beefing up the Storm's Companion unique. Now, the main problem with the Storm's Companion unique isn't that the unique itself is broken, it's that, well, it just doesn't really work properly with the synergies. I tested it out this season, and one of the main issues is that while it does turn your wolves into storm wolves and they do lightning damage, the storm wolves aren't benefiting from the storm passives. So like the Thunderstruck passive and things like that, which they should be, because if they're converted into a storm skill, they should be converted into that, and then they should gain the bonuses of those passives, but they don't seem to be getting it. It'll be interesting to see if the Storm's Companion unique really got any kind of increase. I actually have a stream of me doing this, and I was able to get maybe like 11k damage at level 100, and it wasn't really very impressive. They went from 148 to 1,305, which is roughly what, like a 10 times increase. So I'm gonna go from like 11k to 111k, I guess. 111k to the lightning bolts, which definitely seems a hell of a lot better than 11k that I was getting before. Let's see here. Rogue, they talked about speeding up Heartseeker and Forceful Arrow, which are extremely slow, buffing up Flurry, which nobody seems to use, and also making precision stacks easier to obtain so that the rhythm of the proc feels better. They also talked about fixing the barrage aspect, which was always kind of meh. I didn't really particularly like it. I would actually not use it when I was using Barrage. And there's another similar one for Rapid Fire, which also doesn't really work very well either, which I think they should also touch on, but they didn't this time. But it definitely seems to be a lot better than before. Instead of just a 25% chance, it's a 60% chance, and instead of no damage bonus, you get a 80% damage bonus, which is not bad. Necromancer, they talked about minion buffs, and there's quite a bit of minion buffs here. They talked about a 20% damage baseline bonus to all minions, as well as a 10% health increase. They also increased the Hellbent passive by 15%, which is basically when you're fighting within melee range of your minions, they gain a bonus. But the biggest one seems to be the Cult Leader passive here, which is, they basically changed the Cult Leader passive in Season 3 to give you an increasing damage bonus for each percentage of attack speed, which was 20% attack speed. It used to be 10% per 20% attack speed that you gain to your minions, and now they're beefing it up to 15%, which is a pretty big bonus. You can get some insane increases to attack speed for your minions. There are multiple ways, including a 300% bonus, which can be applied, and several other percent bonuses, which come in the form of aspects. But in general, that 5% bonus actually does represent probably about like a 50 or maybe even a 60%. I'd have to run the math again because I can't remember exactly how fast you can make the minions, but there's a lot of attack speed you can add to the minions. And an extra 5% per 20 is probably the equivalent of about another 50% multiplier right there. On top of this, they also are adding a movement speed bonus for each active minion, which sounds absolutely insane. And combined with the movement speed bonus that they gave the Necromancers already, sounds like the Necromancer minion variety might be really fast, actually. I'm not entirely sure how this would work out in the game, but 1% movement speed for each active minion. You can have, I think, a total of... what is it, like 13 minions, I think? So that's like a 13% increased movement speed right there from the corporeal glyph. They also fixed an issue with the Reapers not spawning corpses as much, and then they're looking into more for Season 4, they said. Let's see what else we had. Yes, they also had the Spiked Armor Thorns bonus. They changed the Death's Reach from distant damage, which is basically garbage, like nobody uses distant damage. For the most part, monsters are almost always within close, and you can't really maintain any kind of distance from monsters because for the most part, monsters do not like to be distant from you. They like to beat you in the face with their mace or their axe or whatever it is they're hitting you with. And the thing is that, well, it's just not like a useful ability. So when they said they were taking away Death's Reach, I did not even flinch. Like I'm not worried at all about that because it was a stupid passive anyway, and nobody put points into it unless they just had extra points laying around. So Death's Advance, which gives you a 12% movement speed bonus, is honestly a much better thing, especially considering the fact that the Necromancer has had movement speed issues since the beginning of the game, due to the developers literally telling us that the Necromancer was deliberately made slower than the other classes as a balancing mechanic because they had lots of minions and they didn't want them to have minions and be fast. Well, now they're reversing those changes, so now the Necromancer can have minions and be fast. So, interesting. They also talked about core skill buffs to Blight, Blood Surge, and Sever. I really haven't seen very many Sever builds. Blight, I'm not really sure if Blight needed a buff, but I'll take it. I played a Blight Necromancer back in Season 2, I believe. This one was really weird. They talked about, like, hey, we have all these cool ideas for, like, the sorceress, but, you know, like, we don't have cool ideas for the other classes. Like, would it be okay if we just gave the sorceress all the love and, like, didn't have any updates for any other classes? And I don't really understand why they're asking us this at all. I feel like they should just add the stuff into the game as it comes about. It's perfectly fine for a season to be focused on a specific class. Like, I've never had an issue with that. Like, half the time we joke, even in Diablo 2, like when the assassin got all the buffs and we were like, it's the season of the assassin. And it wasn't like a bad thing. Like, it's just that this is season that the assassin got all her buffs, right? And like, you know, the other classes didn't get any buffs that season, really, like, you know, barely, like a little bit here and there sprinkled around like salt and pepper. But, you know, it wasn't anywhere near as much as the assassin got that particular season. So it was pretty much just the assassin, you know, the season of the assassin. And there's been seasons of the druid and seasons of the, you know, of the barbarian and stuff like that. That's just the way it works. So I'm not really sure why they're even worried about this. Like I say, you know, if they have something good that they feel like they couldn't add into the game, then add it into the game. I mean, if it slightly unbalances everybody toward one particular class at a time, I mean, that's just how things work. Like, do they not think that when they release the expansion, as an example, and this new class comes out, whatever the new class is, don't they think everyone's going to be playing the new class? The freaking servers are going to be filled with the new class. That whole entire patch when the expansion comes out is literally just going to be like you just sugar blasted with the new class. Like there might be like one or two people that actually pick like a necromancer or a barbarian or a rogue or something, but everybody pretty much is going to be testing out the new class to play it, and it's just going to be a server full of the new class and everybody trying to figure out whether it's any good. And eventually it'll migrate back toward everybody playing all the classes again. But there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, because that's just the natural way that things happen is, you know, when you add a new class or you add a new item, you draw attention to that class or you draw attention to that item, which inadvertently draws attention to those abilities. There's nothing wrong with that. And they spent a long time talking about that. What else is left in here? We are going to be getting patch notes tomorrow. They talked about that. I'm not sure if I already said that already. So patch notes will be coming tomorrow. I'll do a patch notes video. They also said that there was going to be some new information on the news page, which I've checked a couple times now, but let's double check that too. They said there's going to be like a blog post. So let's see if there's a blog post up here. And there is a blog post. Look at that. Beautiful. Undying glory awaits in trials. The trials call you forth. Wanderer fight to earn your place in the Gauntlet leaderboards, arriving on March 5th, which they said was next Tuesday. So we're going to be getting the gauntlets in about 5 days. Each week you can master a new gauntlet, a fixed non-linear dungeon you will have to fight and earn the mightiest score, who will fight to dominate the competition, earn coveted seals, and carve their place in the leaderboards. With the upcoming mid-season patch, there will be impactful class balance changes and essential companion updates, blah, blah, blah. The patch notes are not currently live. If they were, I would be reading them right now. It's going to be 1.33 when it launches, so that'll be tomorrow. And let's see here. See if they got any new information in here other than what they told us. Looks like it's in the southwestern port of Gyakul. At the end of the longest dock sits the formidable Horn of Trials. Activate it to gain access to the Gauntlet. Even though the Gauntlet is accessible to you upon reaching World Tier 4, monsters will be level 124, as we know. So characters will have to hit level 100 to most likely triumph in the carnage ahead. They won't. At 124, you could probably even complete it at level 60 with an ancestral equipment if you really tried. Probably something that people will try to do. The Gauntlet is a fixed layout, non-linear dungeon that changes weekly. It's endgame dungeon where mastery, cunning, and skills achieve the highest score. Your score is based on how many proofs of might you can earn from killing monsters and opening chests within an 8-minute time limit. Each time you enter the Gauntlet during the week, it will be identical, so you can devise your most efficient mode of slaughter and let the corpses mark your progress. Sounds to me like it's going to take a couple tries for most people to hit their highest score, because you really have to go in there, feel it out, check out the map. I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to be devising, like the best routes and stuff to go through. Like, click on this first, kill this monster here. There'll be probably some strategy guides out, I would guess. The Gauntlet concludes each week at Tuesday at 8 a.m. PST, with the next completely different Gauntlet emerging at 10:15 a.m. PST. Strive for your personal best and fight to the bitter end each week before the Gauntlet begins anew. Let's see here. So proofs of might dictate your overall score, can be earned by killing endless hordes of monsters and opening chests. Pillars can increase the number of proofs that you earn. either through score multipliers or respawning the monsters you just killed. While score-based pillars increase your proofs of might, power-based shrines can also spawn the gauntlet after in the gauntlet after killing a boss within the dungeon. So bosses basically are hiding the shrines, or like the pillars of might, which give you specific buffs. So you may or may not want to kill the bosses depending on what they drop, and it's kind of like it's going to be like a tactical thing, right? So a shrine will appear where they have been slain. Let's see here. This is probably going to be about movement speed. That would be my guess. Seal your legend, seal of the bloodied, seal of the steadfast, seal of the iron-willed, and seal of the worthy. So there's 4 ranks to earn. And what else is in here? The score needed to earn each seal will vary week by week, depending on the layout of the gauntlet and the class you're playing. These scores will scale with party size. Larger groups will have an easier time earning higher scores than solo players, and will be tracked in a separate ladder leaderboard. It will take some sweat to reach the highest seals. Do not expect feeble showing to rank you among the greats. Earning proofs of might in your sole priority within the viscera-strewn passageways of the gauntlet, so loot will be rewarded upon completion. Regardless of whether you earned a seal, if you participate in the gauntlet, you'll still obtain a minor cache after each run. Upon weekly reset of the gauntlet, depending on your best score, you'll earn caches of trials. The higher the score, the better the cache you'll earn from that week. Earning a cache of trials guarantees 1 ancestral legendary and scales in rank with cache rewarded. Earning the Seal of the Worthy will grant the most coveted treasures, as they are guaranteed to drop items within the 925 power level. Earning a seal of a higher rank will still grant you the rewards of a lower seal, with the Seal of the Worthy granting you all the seals caches available for that week. You can also earn multiple seals for the multiple gauntlet ladders that are available. Leaderboards in the Hall of the Ancients. Leaderboards are separated by ladders for classes, Party Side, Normal, and Hardcore. So they're also separated by group size. So basically every class has their own section, and then there's also a 2-player, 3-player, and 4-player ladder. So depending on how you want to actually try and compete, it's going to be different every single time. And of course, you know, there's the hardcore versions as well, which they talked about. So yeah, try not to die in there, guys. I mean, for the most part, well, actually, what is here? If you manage to secure your place in the top 100 of any ladder, you will also earn the Conqueror's Crest Mount Trophy. Okay, so some unique cosmetics for placing in the top 100. If you can manage to become the greatest among us and place in the top 10 of any of the leaderboards, you will have your name and character immortalized in the permanent Hall of Ancients, allowing future legions of wanderers to gaze upon your coveted performance. Okay, so you got to get in the top 10 to make it in the Hall of the Ancients. Interesting. They dropped the number of crafting materials for the Uber Uniques from 5 to 4, which I was really hoping they weren't going to drop it, but I guess it's okay. I ain't mad about 5 to 4. 5 to 4 is fine. It's still going to require quite a few. The Q&A was really weird. I'm not really sure what to think about the Q&A, to be honest. I mean, overall, I guess we just need to see what the patch notes say tomorrow. A lot of the times they hide a lot of stuff in the patch notes, a lot more than we actually see. So they'll tell us one thing, and then we go in the patch notes, and there's something completely different. Also, PTR. I forgot to talk about PTR. So, Public Test Realm. They talked about Public Test Realm for a while. They said Public Test Realm is going to be coming for Season 4. And I feel like they just completely missed the point of Public Test Realm and why we want Public Test Realm. And it's really because we're sick and tired of them beta testing the live servers. Every single time they make a change, every single time they do something in the live servers, it almost invariably ends up being some sort of horrible bugged mess, which we always feel like could have been prevented had they had a Public Test Realm, because we would have gladly shown them that it was a bugged mess before it went live, and then they could have fixed it before they dropped it onto the servers. But instead of testing things before they're dropped onto the servers, they just keep dropping these buggy, broken patches directly onto the server. Almost like testing some sort of like mutagenic rabbit virus like on the live population of rabbits instead of testing it on like a rabbit inside of your scientific facility where you can control the results. And then lo and behold, the rabbit gets ravenous and wants to suck human blood, and now you've like turned all rabbits in the entire world into vampire rabbits, and you're like, oops. If only there was some way we could have prevented this. Yeah, PTR could have prevented that. Like, you could have tested it in the laboratory before you let it loose in the wild. But they just keep on letting them loose in the wild, and it's just really, really weird. So I guess now we finally have PTR, and we can finally find these bugs before they go live and be like, hey, there's like a horrible vampiric virus that's spreading across the entire population of your game. You're like, what? What do you mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And you show them the evidence, and they're like, oh, man, we might have to postpone the patch and not release this horrible vampiric virus into the server. And it's nice that they're finally putting out PTR. But then at the same time, we got some really weird comments from Adam Jackson. Adam Fletcher. He was like, and we're probably not going to have a PTR for every patch, only the really important ones. And quite honestly, they should have a PTR for every patch because they have shown a propensity to fail miserably by adding in game-breaking bugs every single patch, and like. They need the community there. Like, they need the community there to, like, show them exactly how broken the game is, because apparently they don't know how to break the game themselves. But you let the community do it for you. You let the community break the game for you. They'll do it. They'll break the game. They'll let them in there. You set them free with some hatchets and a box of beef jerky, and just let them at it. And they'll let you know what's broken in the game in like 1 week. Like, you'll have like a full bug list of things that you need to fix in like a week. And it's happened so many times in so many games, but it's almost as if like they're determined to just not have our help on this stuff, which is really weird. They'd rather just put the bugs in the game and then just let them propagate like little mold spores and ruin everything rather than have us test it. Like, using this as an example. So right now we have these leaderboards coming. A lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people are going to be really excited about these leaderboards. All right. They're going to want to get on. They're going to want to try and hit top 10. They're going to want to try and get to the, to the top of these. If there's some kind of bug in these leaderboards that hasn't been fleshed out that ruins the first leaderboard because, like X exploit has been discovered and this guy's getting like 1 million proofs of might when it's not normally possible to ever get that many because he's using this exploit that wasn't fleshed out, they're gonna get hell. They're gonna get hell from this. Like, they didn't bring out the leaderboards in any kind of PTR, and according to what they're saying, we're not gonna get PTR on the leaderboards. So the only people that have been testing this have been developers at this particular point, as far as I know. And they really need to get some actual players in there to see if they can break the leaderboards before they release them. Because if they don't, and it ends up being broken in some way that, like the top 1% of the player base is capable of exploiting, it's going to make people pretty mad, especially, since it's a competition, right? Nobody likes an unfair competition. Everybody likes a fair competition, but nobody likes an unfair competition, right? So it's kind of upsetting that they don't have any kind of PTR on the first competition that they're adding into the game. Other than that, there's really not a lot more to cover here. I need to see the patch notes. These two weren't actually playing the game, the Gauntlet. They were just watching. They did 3 different builds here in the Gauntlet. They did the Barbarian, which is the classic Hoda Barbarian, Hoda Charge, which has probably been one of the most popular builds this season. Seemed to do the best as far as the score was concerned, almost hit 300,000. Then they also did the Bone Spear Necromancer and the Ball Lightning Sorceress. The Bone Spear Necromancer and the Ball Lightning Sorceress seem to be pretty on par with each other. It definitely seemed like these weren't the most optimal forms of these builds. None of them, really. The Bone Spear Necromancer wasn't hitting as hard as I've seen Bone Spear Necromancers hit. The Hoda Barbarian wasn't hitting as hard as I've seen the Hoda Barbarians hit. And honestly, the Ball Lightning Sorceress, I haven't seen the Ball Lightning Sorceress since they nerfed it. So I can't speak on that one, but for those of you who've played a Ball Lightning Sorceress in Season 3, I'm sure you guys can tell from the footage whether or not that was a, like, optimally set up Ball Lightning Sorceress, or whether that was more of like a mid-tier. I mean, these are developers that are playing, and I'm not exactly sure if these guys are set up optimally. Do they have uber uniques? You know, like, are these guys min-maxed out to the, you know, the wazoo? Like, what's going on with these particular players? I saw some kind of okay hits from the Bone Spear Necromancer, but I was used to, when I played the Bone Spear Necromancer, I had a lot higher hits than what he's getting. But then again, they have nerfed it several times, so maybe I'm just not remembering properly. Anyway, I've got another live stream to get to. So I'm going to end this one here. And if you guys want to join me today, I'm going to be doing a new character day over on Diablo 2 Resurrected. It is scheduled for basically right now. So this stream will end, and if you guys want to join me for Diablo 2, that stream will start. It should automatically redirect you guys to the new stream if you guys want to hop in with me. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining me for these fun little things, and be sure to join me tomorrow for the 1.33 patch notes. And as always, keep watching.